অনেক কিছু অন্যরকম।
Participants of the online internship program on petroleum and petrochemical industries and Internet of Things and Industry 4.0. Today is a very auspicious day, 20th August 2021. We are about to start our inauguration program. Already, Professor Bhaskar Gupta, the course director of the program, the professor of eminence of Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. So, sir has already joined. We have so many participants. We are waiting for our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor and also the Vice Chancellor of MACAUT. As the tradition goes, in the Vivekananda Institute, we always start the program by invoking the blessings of Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna by means of a Vedic prayer. So that we are going to start. Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Viddishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This small Vedic rendering, the essence of that is that whenever we do anything, we do it together. And when we do it together, then we can do some good things. A single person cannot do like that. And I am very happy that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor, Pro Vice Chancellor of Jadavpur University, Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, recently a new feather has been added. That is, he has become the President of West Bengal Council of Higher Secondary Education. So he has already joined. I request Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya to speak, that means to have his formal inaugural address. And then at that same time, actually what happens is, in our earlier programs, what we conducted online, it was not truly an online program. It was an online program in mixed mode, that is in hybrid mode. And that's why last year when we conducted, our Vice Chancellor joined with us to inaugurate by means of lighting lamp in front of Swami Vivekananda's photo. In front of Swami Vivekananda's photo means you can see the Swami Vivekananda's photo just behind me. Swami Vivekananda is the prime mover of this institute. You can say the Pran Purush. So we request Professor Bhattacharya to offer the pranam and Omi on behalf of our Vice Chancellor, light one lamp.
Hi, yes, I offer my respect, obviously, for Swami Vivekananda. I always he is always just idol for me, Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So I offer my deep respect. So in virtual mode, it is not possible to enlighten the lamp, but virtually I definitely offer my respect.
She is our student. She is doing on behalf of you. The first lamp.
So it's better. ওই আমার পক্ষ থেকে আলোটা প্রজ্বলন করুক.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Vice Chancellor has accorded permission. So you do this. The next
Yeah,
one
yeah,
is
yeah.
our Professor Moitro has joined. Shekhar Moitro. Sir, have you joined? Okay. So let us tell our, let us request Professor Bhaskar Gupta to light the next, week. Professor Gupta, please.
Well, my heartfelt pranam to Swami Vivekananda in all our institute's work and in all my life, everything that we do. He is the true spirit, true inspiration, the true light. So, Pomi, please light the lamp for me to pay homage to him.
It reminded me the mantra that is Agni Mile Purohitam. That means this is the first mantra of Veda. The idea is that Agni is the priest. That means if you do anything, you need a priest, you need a teacher, isn't it? So
Yes.
Here the Agni is the teacher. That's why in all ceremonies, starting from marriage ceremony or the birth ceremony, everywhere this Agni is, and also in our death, Agni is required. So who are the other our dignitaries? Professor Chaudhary, Mr. Partho Ghosh, Executive Director. Oh, they have not joined. Actually, their turn of speaking is little afterwards. So that's why I think they will join afterwards. From the standpoint of our, from the representative of our course coordinator of this course, this particularly the petroleum and petrochemical industries, Oshanendu is here. So Mr. Oshanendu Mondal, he had a long innings in ONGC as a chief general manager, and now again came back to this academic discipline. So Oshanendu, please empower me to light the next week.
हमारा आंतरिक प्रणाम स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के.
Okay, please. And the last one is mine.
Light the lamp for on behalf of me to Swami Vivekananda ji.
I think this is the formal inauguration of our course, and I request first Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor and President, West Bengal Council of Higher Secondary Education, Higher Secondary Council. So please deliver the inaugural address. Sir, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Swami Vivekananda ji. It's really nice to see you that this particular the PM, in collaboration with the Jadavpur University, is organizing this particular internship program on petroleum and petrochemical industry, and secondly, IoT and Industry 4.0 for ICT and core engineering. So this internship program is being organized by the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Jadavpur University, Kolkata, and the Vivekananda Institute of Environment and Management, VM, Kolkata. So it's a very good initiative. First of all, I must say that this particular program is being organized under this virtual platform. And I found that there are several renowned dignitaries like Professor Shoikat Mitra, Vice Chancellor, Macau, Professor B. Chaudhary, Principal, Ashok Chaudhary, Principal, Heritage Institute of Technology, Mr. Partha Ghosh, Executive Director, IOCL, and Head, Haldia Refinery. And there are keynote and the plenary speaker, Dr. Ashit Dash, who is a very known person of me, of the Reliance Industries Limited, Mr. P.K. Shen Sharma, Global Oil and Gas Expert, Professor Shorub Mia, IoT Expert, University of Florida, USA, Dr. Rajiv Mukherjee, IoT Expert, the University of Texas. So there are just a number of dignitaries who will be presenting here in this particular, they will share their expertise in this particular internship program. And I hope that the participant will get enriched by this particular deliberation, who will be given this particular, who will give their speech on this particular topic. Now, petroleum and petrochemical industry, as well as the IoT, particularly the Industry 4.0, these are very important topic nowadays, because Industry 4.0 is a particular new standard for which actually the artificial intelligence, particularly the machine learning and the data science, everything will come into picture. And some institutes are offering, in fact, this, it would have been nice if Professor Ashok Chaudhary would have been here. In fact, the Professor Shoikat Mitra would have been here. It is nice. I just got the information that the Heritage Institute of Technology has initiated a 4 years BTech program on the machine learning as well as the data science. So it's really a very good initiative in that particular direction to disseminate the knowledge of Industry 4.0 as well as IoT, the Internet of Things, because nowadays we are talking about the smart room, smart classroom. Everything now has become smart. So in that particular respect, obviously the artificial intelligence plays a very big role. So obviously this sort of knowledge, the dissemination of this sort of knowledge is very, very important. And we need to prepare the students who are completely accustomed about this particular technology. They are acquainted with the Industry 4.0 and particularly the IoT. So in that particular respect, this course plays a very big role, no doubt. And petroleum and petrochemical industry is no doubt a very important sector in this particular industrial sector, overall in the Indian economy. So obviously, we are running, basically everything is dependent upon the petroleum and the petrochemical sector, because the plastics, those we are using nowadays, everyday use for plastics, they are coming from the petrochemical industry, the fuel, everything, so starting from the ATF, that is the aviation turbine fuel, petrol, diesel, and LPG, kerosene, all are coming from the petroleum or the petrochemical industry. They are the product or the byproduct of the different industry. Even the furnace oil, the lubricants, everything. And so accordingly, we are very much dependent upon the petroleum and the petrochemical sector. But one thing is very important is that we are not self-reliant in terms of the crude oil production. So we need to import the crude. So we need to depend upon the foreign countries. And the crude price, the international crude price is varying. There are various factors. One is the economic factor, and there are several political factors also, because the crude oil production is very much dependent on the Gulf countries. So due to some political issues, sometimes it has been found that the crude oil price is increasing or sometimes decreasing. So there is a huge variation of the crude oil price. And obviously, since we are not self-reliant on the crude oil production, we need to depend upon the imported crude. In those circumstances, definitely, the cost of the production of different petroleum products, it may be either ATF, it may be the petrol, diesel, kerosene, LPG, or it may be any other product or byproduct like furnace oil, defense, whatever it may be, they actually vary. So there should be a proper balance, and obviously the effort should be there to minimize the production cost. So we need to adopt the latest technologies, and by which we need to minimize the production cost. So that is very, very important in the present day's context, because we are dependent particularly upon the imported crude. So this is a very important point. So we need to adapt to the modern technologies, and obviously we need to reduce the production costs so that we can absorb any price hike by the foreign countries, particularly the OPEC or some other countries, from where we need to import the crude oil. So that is a very important thing. And another very important aspect is the sustainability with respect to the environmental pollution or the environmental management. So obviously, any sort of industrial development, industrialization is very, very important. Without industry, definitely we cannot survive. So definitely we are moving now through car, through aeroplane, through just train, whatever it may be. We need energy. And petroleum is the very important source of energy nowadays, apart from the solar and other renewable sources. Obviously, their contribution is still very much limited in the overall energy sector. So the petroleum sector is one of the major share they actually occupy in the energy sector. And obviously, we need to just very careful so that the petroleum production, whatever it may be, the petroleum or the petrochemical industry, the refinery or the petrochemical industry, they shouldn't produce much pollutant. They shouldn't disturb the environment in any respect. And we must just regard the environmental sustainability. So that is very, very important. And nowadays, various environmental technologies have been incorporated in the petroleum sectors so as to minimize the air pollution as well as the water pollution, particularly the oily water discharge. Because in petroleum industry, the oily water discharge is a very big issue, and how to get rid of that oil, because that particular oil, if it comes to the surface water, get mixed with the surface water, it can affect the aquatic life. It can damage the overall ecosystem. So obviously, we need to be careful that particular, in terms of the oily water, it should be we should be very, very careful so that any sort of discharge from the petroleum refinery or the petrochemical industry can be minimized. In this particular respect, also nowadays, the artificial intelligence or the IoT plays a very big role, because nowadays we are incorporating sensors, because in many cases, some emergency situation may arise. In those particular cases, lot of pollutants may come out suddenly in air or in the water. So in those particular respect also, the IoT or the artificial intelligence plays a very big role, and that is a part of the Industry 4.0. So I don't want to elaborate much on this particular topic. There are eminent experts who will be delivering upon this particular topic. Only I want to just shared some of my viewpoints, because I need to attend another meeting after that. So just I don't want to prolong. And Professor Bhaskar Gupta is there. He will be, I think there are many other experts also. They will actually share the need of IoT and machine learning and the integration between the core industry and this particular concept of the IoT. So that is very, very important. And I think those eminent experts will definitely share their viewpoints, and the participants will definitely get benefited under this particular pandemic situation, when the direct classroom teaching or the direct physical internship is not being permitted still by the government. So under this particular circumstances, definitely I convey my heartiest congratulations and greetings to the organizers, particularly Shami Vedakanandaji, Professor Bhaskar Gupta, and other members of the organizing committee who made it possible to organize this internship program virtually, and particularly the eminent participations from across the, not only in West Bengal, not only in India, but across the world, makes this internship program more important and fruitful. So with this, I definitely want to conclude, and I wish all the best. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Bhattacharya. Just please don't leave. Please be here for 1 or 2 minutes. So some beautifully summarized you all the essence of the program. So particularly, I am thankful to you. Actually, Professor Swarup Bhuiya of University of Florida, he is your alumnus of your university, and my student and the product of Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandira. Swarup has joined.
That's really
Professor
great.
Swarup. Swarup, please open your video so that everyone can see our professor. So,
Thank you, Maharaj. It's really a pleasure and honor.
And Professor Shaikhat Moitro, our Vice Chancellor of Macau, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. Sir has also joined. Sir, it is the glorious duty of Sir to give the inaugural address. And then Professor Swarup Bhuiya will speak afterwards, at around 7:30 or so. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So you can take a photo of the whole. Hello. You can take a screenshot of all the dignitaries in that computer, like that. And let me invite Professor Moitro, our very good friend. In fact, we can say he is our boss because our institute is just under him, but he always feels like our good friend. So we are very grateful to Professor Shaikhat Moitro, the Vice Chancellor, and Chiranjeev, Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, the Pro Vice Chancellor of Jadavpur University, and also my good friend Professor Bhaskar Gupta and others. So please, Professor Moitro, please start your deliberation. Actually, just before you're joining, on behalf of your name, we have lighted one lamp, and in 1 week of the lamp is still. Just a minute. Yes, till the lamp is glowing. That 1 week we dedicated to Professor Moitro. And also our renowned guest, the guest of honor, Mr. Partha Ghosh, the Executive Director of Haldia Refinery and head. So he has also joined. So I request Professor Moitro to start his inaugural address. Professor Shaikhat Moitro, please. Sir, open your video. Oh, he is there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. My video is open. Can you see me now?
Yes. I have seen that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Swamiji. I was just listening to the previous speaker, Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, and he has touched upon this lots of important issues pertaining to today's program. Today's program, basically this virtual internship orientation program of petroleum, petrochemical industries and IoT, Industry 4.0, ICT and core engineering, jointly organized by Vivekananda Institute of Engineering and Management along with Jadavpur University. This is a great occasion because I also have professionally certain, this work in this particular area, and I can share some of my personal views and personal work experiences in this particular domain. I can see, there's lots of luminaries and those who are closely associated with me in this virtual platform. Professor Bhaskar Gupta, Professor Swami Vedagganandaji are always there. I will see Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya and experts and doyens in this field, Dr. Partha Ghosh and others. You see this, there are two aspects. One is this petrochemical and petroleum and petrochemical industries, and another aspect is these applications of IoTs and these other devices following the protocol of Industry 4.0 to take the leverage of the latest development of information and computational science, ICT, and all these technologies in this particular sector. if we consider our country, and not only our country, everywhere, even in the entire world, petroleum and petrochemical industries, they are still occupying this, this pivotal position as far as the energy requirement is concerned. Though we are working on different areas in renewable energies, in solar energies, and others, nuclear energies, but coal and petroleum, these are basically two important areas still where human race and human civilization is depending for this energy requirement. Now, this petroleum and petrochemicals, all these things in our countries, we have this not that much reserve as far as liquid this petroleum is concerned, but we have abundant reserves of unexplored reserves of gases. The two areas where I had this the opportunity to work when I was working with Petronas University for some times in 2007 2010 in this area. So two of the areas where I have seen that this work is going on, because Petronas itself is a this natural oil making organizations of Malaysia. And there's another organization, Petrad, from Norway. So what this observation experience which I had gathered that there are two areas where people are working on, basically this designing and development of gas separation membranes. That is very much critical and crucial as far as the effective and efficient utilization of gas is this concerned. And second is how to design and develop this catalyst, robust catalyst with large space to this use for cracking of these heavy residues in pitch and naphthas, because to extract as much fuel as possible from all these these bottom products. So both these are challenging, and of course lots of development has happened over the years as far as this membrane technology is concerned, particularly when we are seeing, this exploration of extraction of gases. It's mixed with it's even mixed with carbon dioxide, and others, which reduces the calorific value. And the problem is this: when we are trying to separate this carbon dioxide and methane through diffusion process, then in spite of heavy molecular weight, because of linear geometry, carbon dioxide diffuses fast. So this is this technological fallacy. That means you will be getting only carbon dioxide when you will be putting some sort of sieves to exploit the concept of diffusion for separation of carbon dioxide and methane. That's why this and because of this very drastic condition for this extraction and exploration, as this high temperature pressures and this lots of flow conditions all are concerned. The robust membrane, this designing of robust development of robust membrane was very much required, and people could develop some sorts of membranes, but till this for large scale productions in modular forms. That was the call of the day that time, and everywhere people are working with this ceramic membrane, composite membranes, metal ceramic composites, and ubiquitous membranes for taking care of this challenging scenario. In our countries also, we have lots of reserves of gas, because many things are still this getting explored. Recently, so we have this this gas exploration process started in the state, in Ashoknagar areas, and many areas are there where still there. I believe, and that has been estimated earlier by this by satellite data and all this studies, geoinform, because of the late geoinformatics. This subject has this propagated and proliferated like anything, and we are getting lots of information regarding our natural reserves which we are having under the soil, under the ocean, everywhere, and this uncharted terrains everywhere. All these resources which are still there, and this abundant reserves of gas is there, but only the problem will be to how to extract and export all these gases technically in an efficient manner. Because when we are doing all these things, as Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya rightly pointed out, there are lots of environmental degradation. That is not a sustainable affair. So this is a challenging scenario for exploitations and explorations of all this this petroleum and petrochemical, basically petroleum-based fuels, coal-based fuels also. This is the problem. So when there is some this exploration and mining process happens, lots of this environmental damage takes place in and around, and that's that actually imbalances these the natural ecosystems, and that causes a great impact on our this long-term impact on the sustainability of environment. So this is earlier we were not much concerned for this, and now people are very much concerned about this eco-friendly exploration and extractions of all these things, and that is a challenging scenario. And use of biological processes, biochemical processes, use of these processes which are more eco-friendly, that are being this tried and attempted, and lots of development and research are happening in this area. This is the fate for petroleum and petrochemical industries. There are these another problems. The problems are everywhere in petrochemicals industries when we are going for compressions of petroleum cracking products. Then the problem is this hydrogen compression is very difficult. Hydrogen is not that much compressible, and that's why this and most of the times we allow the hydrogen to escape and to burn, and we deliberately, desperately burn it. And now hydrogen is being considered as a very clean fuel, and the hydrogen-based technology in the form of fuel cell, and that has been appearing, that has been this evolving in many areas, and for that hydrogen this hydrogen separation, use of hydrogen, how to take care of this. Earlier we were not concerned about this use of or separation of hydrogen to that extent. Now we are very much concerned about these separations and bottling of hydrogen, because this is one of the challenging scenario. And because of this hydrogen separation membranes and all these things, the technologies are coming up in a big, and that's that there are lots of workers required further to make it this full-fledged scalable this technology. So this is one thing. Now, because of this advent of this industry 4.0 concept everywhere, we are seeing paradigm shift in almost all these industries, and petrochemical and petroleum industries is of no exception. Lots of sensors, these controllers, all these devices are coming up. Instrumentations and controls of the systems is most advanced instrumentation and control systems. Control systems were virtually control systems. These have come up in recent years to these remotely control the entire things, which is one of the tenets of Industry 4.0. That this automation, analytics, and the remote work process. These are happening everywhere. So we are seeing these lots of IoT devices for capturing data, and data this humongous amount of data are being generated not in every sectors, and in petrochemicals and sectors this tremendous amount of data are being generated. Earlier we are not concerned about all these things because data is now considered as another fuel. Earlier we were quite this that much, we are not that much interested in using in leveraging this huge volume of data. We do not have that much these tools and techniques also. But because of these big data platforms, Hadoops and all these things that have in the last decades and all these things, the phenomenal growth has happened in handling the tools and techniques for handling big data. Now this is a formidable these options in taking care of all this challenging scenario. So this is one of the these important things of the late. We are these being habituated, or we are being skilled in handling large amount of data to make the process absolutely efficient, and using these control systems and IoT devices, maintaining the entire supply chain thread, digital thread. That is one of the prerequisites of Industry 4.0, because you see there are lots of losses after from the point of exploration of the oil up to the end point. That is when it reaches to the final consumption level point. In between these, there are lots of losses which are happening in different formats, and how to take care of all these things by maintaining a proper digital thread. That is one of the challenging scenario. And there are lots of these Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya touched upon certain points, some political issues, some social issues, some technical issues. All issues are, these get intermingled and making the situation very, very complex. So understanding this, this is the role of different factors and how to take care of all these factors to the best possible extent. That this is very much required. This analysis of data and this is becoming possible right now with the advent of big data analytics, with the advent of this handling of big data, applying the concept of machine learning, applying concept of this data science. These are this one of the very, very useful these processes by which we can make this the efficiency and of the petrochemicals and petroleum processing industries maximum. This is one thing, and now within few years we will be leaping into the another domain of Industry 5.0. There, this efficiency. This will transcend the boundary of the industry floors from one particular industry floors to other industries as well, and that means this integration of different industries to make a holistic, efficient environment development. That will happen as a part of this Industry 5.0. There also, this we will be seeing different petrochemical processing industries. They will be working together through these digital threads, through the data sharings and all these things to make the process absolutely efficient. To ultimate objective is to make this benefit to the customers and consumers. Till now, this is one of the challenging scenario. This because as energy, this is going to be scarce, and the scarce commodity. Ultimately, the sufferer or the consumers and customers. So, how to make this energy, this requirement very, very this affordable and accessible, because this is related to the growth and development of our civilization further. So this is the challenge of the coming decade, and this petrochemical and petroleum industry is being therefore augmented by all these latest IT-enabled these tools and techniques, biochemical processes, environmental engineering, and with this combinations of all these things. What I believe that its look and form will be different what we are seeing today by 2030 and onwards, because within the next decade there will be a shift, this paradigm shifts in almost all the industries. And here my opinion is that, my observation or idea is that this industry will undergo that type of shift to the best possible extent, because we have seen that in Middle East there is a tremendous interest in understanding the concept of machine learning, artificial cyber, the cyber physical, all these interactions to the best possible extent to take the leverage of all these tools and techniques for making the petrochemicals in the efficiency of petrochemical industries the maximum. And that's why few years before I happened to write a book on petrochemical industry, petrochemical processes, and when I was proactive in marketing that book in Middle East, that I got a very lukewarm response. But because now this is not this the domain of interest. The domain of interest is artificial intelligence, IoT, machine learning, and all these things in all these countries which are stronghold of this petroleum and petrochemical industries. So this is life everywhere. There are changes happening, and changes will be there in these industries in the coming years very soon. And now we need to take care of all these changes. That's why we are upgrading our syllabus, all this engineering syllabus, bringing all the latest this requirement as far as the computational IT related skills are concerned with all the engineering domains. And we provide knowledge, skill, and ability development in all the learners in the coming years. That is one of the challenging scenario from our academic institutes everywhere. Research will be one of the challenging scenario, and of course the applications of all these things in industry to make it a fully scalable, integrated, effective, sustainable industry. That is one of the challenging scenario. So I wish but today's these programs will cater to the need of this particular requirement, because of the deliberations of many experts in this field in a much better way that will satiate the thrust of particularly as far as the knowledge requirement in this area is concerned, and to make all the participants more enlightened, enriched, and this engaged in a very effective manner. So I wish a grand success for today's programs. My sincerest thanks to Swami Vivekananda, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, all others who are associated who are here. I'll be curious enough to know this entire process, to go through the entire proceeding, because of the time constraint, all these things, I may not be present for a long period, but I believe that everything is digitally captured here. So afterwards, I'll have the opportunity to go through this digital recorded versions of these programs. So thank you very much. I wish all the best for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is a very, very illuminating inaugural address. And sir, you have touched all the relevant points for the couple of courses that we are going to start today. The thing is that all these things are live streamed in YouTube, and we will share the YouTube link just after the program will be over, so that everything can be viewed afterwards also. And the points, the queries and essential points, what you touched, one is from petroleum. I can make it two groups, that one is from the petroleum and petrochemical sector. The other is from IoT sector. So we have two able experts today. One is Professor Sharup Bhuiya, a product of our Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandira, and also from Jadavpur University. And then he went to IIT Kanpur. And then this is his, a little bit of the portraits, his career. So let me share with all of you and with the participants. Sharup, are you still here?
Yes, Maharaj, I'm here.
Yes. So you will speak afterwards. Let this inauguration portion be finished, and then we will invite you. So we are very happy that we have got you as a partner, and also Dr. Asit Das. Asit will join as the last speaker. So he has got the innumerable amount of awards in the petroleum and petrochemical industries. So started his career in IOCL R&D, and presently the R&D head in Reliance. So I think whatever the areas that Professor Mitra has pointed out, all the detailed deliberation that will be done by these two able speakers. So I am very thankful to all of you. Our Professor Poeda, our very, in fact, I consider him as a teacher of the teachers. So he is a inception of the self-financing engineering colleges movement in our state. So still serving at this back end of this career, that means that I think he has already passed 80, if I am not mistaken. So
Yes.
sir is still here. So and still giving advice. Our Professor Metro is taking lots of advice till now at this old age. So sir, you please just put your blessings and some observations on this particular course, Professor Poeda sir, and then we will go to listen to Mr. Ghosh.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dr. Vivekananda. Distinguished personalities, galaxy of them, which includes my student, former student, now a Vice Chancellor of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, Professor Soikat Moitra. Is a fountain of ideas and knows how to implement. I do not know, but Professor Dr. Chiranjeev Bhattacharya is also present, Vice Chancellor Jadavpur University and presently President of the Higher Secondary Council of West Bengal. Professor Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, and luminaries from industry, beloved
And Mr. Partha Ghosh is here. Mr.
Professor
Partha Ghosh from IOCL.
Yes, Professor Ghosh and other panelists, speakers, budding engineers or internees. I feel extremely happy that the Vivekananda Institute of Engineering, Environment and Management is again organizing an internship program for the undergraduate students on two most important sectors of industry. One is petroleum and petrochemicals, and other, so to say, sunrise or future industry, what should I say, IoT, as Professor Moitra was telling you, Industry 4.0. He also indicated about passing over to Industry 5.0. Anyway, I should say that internship or this in-plant training is one of the compulsory components of the curriculum of the undergraduate programs all over India. The idea was to expose the budding engineers to an environment of industry. Unfortunately, due to the pervading COVID pandemic, it is not possible for the students to go to industry and feel the environment of an industry, how it is different from the academic environment. They might have visited local industry, but continuously for a few months in industry would have given them a feel of the industry. But that is being substituted by an attempt by the Vivekananda Institute of Environment Management, bringing in experts from industry and academia to give them the same feel as of the industry, or they might feel the environment of the industry through these experts. Now, this is really a timely attempt by any organization. They had a great amount of success while they organized this internship last year. Professor Gupta and Swami Vivekananda did everything possible, and I hope the institute, with the leadership of Professor Gupta and Swami Vivekananda, Dr. Vishwas, will achieve grand success. Thank you very much. I have best wishes for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. This year we planned 4 courses. So 2 courses we are going, petroleum is going to start from Monday. From 6th, we will have the IoT, and we are also seeking, actually in Macau, the exam is, I think, till this month, isn't it, sir? So, Professor Moitra. So naturally, little afterwards, we will start another 2 courses. One is that sustainable development, where not only the engineering branches from the technology branches, they can also join, and also from other universities like the Neotia University and such type of universities, and also some science background people also, so students also, so that they can get immense benefit. And another is the water resources and environmental engineering. So like that, we are having the plan like this. I am going to introduce Mr. Partha Ghosh, the Honorable Executive Director of Indian Oil Corporation Limited and the head of Haldia Refinery. I remember that I have saris also. I mean, Professor Kwada, I am having lots of interaction. My batchmate, I mean, from that IOCL, that is Mr. Sanjeev Singh. So he was the chairman of IOCL. So 2 years before, when the government of India made me the President Engineering Sciences in Indian Science Congress, so I requested Sanjeev. He said that, see, I cannot join, but because I don't have any free time. In fact, you see, from I think the general manager to ED onwards in such public sector undertakings, the free time is very less, because whatever the ministry says, all the executive has to do accordingly. But Sanjeev sent Mr. Raizada from that Panipat refinery, and because the program was in Jalandhar, so like that. So there are lots of other, memories I have with IOCL. 2 years before I visited that plant, when Mr. Ghosh's predecessor was here, that Mr. Tiwari, and we had efficient interaction with this. So like that. And please, students, I request the students to see the very illuminating career of Mr. Ghosh. More than 35 years experience in refineries and integrated petrochemical complexes. Prior to taking over as refinery head, he was the head of supply chain optimization of Indian Oil. That means this is very relevant, that he is the guest of honor in both the inauguration of the both courses, that not only the refineries and petrochemicals, also the IoT, because supply chain management is very much related with this IoT and optimization of Indian oil, like that. So he is interested in digital transformation of organization, sustainability initiatives. He has got lots of achievements and awards. Led Indian team at Vienna for technical meeting on petroleum cooperation for a sustainable future in June 18. Led Indian oil team for production of high quality marble grade banker, first time in India, well before IMO 2020 deadline, in cost effective manner. Delivered lecture on future of India's oil industry's roadmap, high growth potential, competitiveness, and policy push, both in upstream and downstream. At Singapore, presented quality upgradation plans in gas oil and furnace oil in India in Asian Refinery Summit in Singapore. Made presentation in Dubai in 2019 in IMO 2020, and made presentation OPEC on Vienna on impact of IMO 2020. So we are very eager to listen to Mr. Ghosh. Sir, please start your deliberation.
Thank you. Thank you, Swamiji. It's indeed an honor for me to be in front of such very learned speakers and so many of participants. I say namaste, good evening to all of you. Actually, in this era of hypersensitive climate activists, talking about petroleum industry in an open forum anywhere in the world is very, very challenging. People nowadays look at us in a different manner. But I would like to express my perspectives considering the stage of economic development that we are in India. And I'm sure you will appreciate, most of you will appreciate. India is a large country and home to 1.36 billion people. Soon we'll be crossing China and will be the most populous country in the world. But if you see, per capita energy consumption in India is about 0.6 MTOE. MTOE means ton of oil equivalent, metric ton, which is 1/3 of the world average. World average, 1/3. USA is 7.0 MTOE. We are 0.6. Even China is 2.4. So as we progress in economic development, this per capita consumption will grow. You know, we are a very young country. 45% of our population is less than 25 years age. A very young country, indeed. There is a huge aspiration amongst these young people. Today, they want best in every field. Look at the kind of training and exercise regime our very own Neeraj Chopra followed to ensure he settles only for gold in Olympics in javelin throw just concluded in Tokyo. This is the new age of Indian youngsters. There's a massive urbanization in the country. Today, in India, urban area is about 33% against 54% globally. India will soon definitely catch up the world average. There is tremendous amount of economic activity and a lot of growth potential. Just forget the small period of COVID, what had happened last year. Otherwise, there's tremendous growth potential in this country. PwC, in their study in 2016, I have that report, indicated that India will be the second biggest economy in the world by 2050, surpassing even USA. Can you believe? Yes, it is true. There are many other reports, IMF, World Bank. India is going to grow that way. Our contribution to the world GDP will be 15%. So such growth will call for huge energy demand. Now today, share of our energy in coal is maximum. It's about 55%, followed by oil, which is 30%. Oil consumption in India is today about, let's say, 240 million ton per annum. By 2050, it is expected to be almost double. There indeed is a lot of opportunity for people in this field. Burning of oil does emit carbon. So there's a lot of concern about sustainability and carbon footprints. Let's not forget the convenience it brings to give us a very basic standard of living. Some of you might have heard about Prime Minister's Ujjwala Yojana. The scheme is poor women below certain level of income, they are offered LPG cylinders free of cost by government. Now, when this scheme was launched, that was way back, I think, 2017, all the senior officers from our company were asked to visit one district, each of us, one district, and provide a feedback on the scheme, the usefulness of the scheme. I visited a village, a couple of villages in Purnia district in Bihar. I have seen myself the benefits that LPG brought to the poor people's kitchen. You know, the alternative fuel they burned, it was wood collected from all over the places, or cow dung cake. The amount of time spent in arranging such fuel was enormous. More importantly, the smoke that emitted from this traditional fuel used to choke the lady and accompany her in the kitchen. This would often lead to permanent breathing problems. LPG not only gave them better environment in the kitchen, it improved the health, but it saved a lot of time for the family. The quality of life improved. For many critics, this additional fuel burn will emit carbon, but look at the change LPG brought to these poor people in the rural areas. How can you deprive them of these very basic rights to life? So the growth of petroleum in India will definitely continue to achieve the basic acceptable standard of living. However, we need to be very, very careful of few things. We have to be efficient, not only how we use the product, but also in the entire supply chain, so that carbon footprints from these are as minimum as possible. We all are doing a lot of things in the industry. Government is doing quite a bit in this direction. We know natural gas emits less carbon. It's much cleaner. Hence, there's a tremendous push from Government of India for improving gas consumption. But this requires huge infrastructure. The same is happening at a very fast pace. Our target is 15% of the total energy will be from natural gas by 2030. It's about 6 to 7% today, 6%. Going to 15%, 2030 is a huge task because the total pie is also increasing. We need to get to the renewables. Ethanol blended in petrol is about 10%. Now it has been decided that ethanol blending will be increased to 20% by 2025. This was initially thought to be from 2030. So there's a push on the renewables. India has tremendous opportunity in biogas. The target has been set up to set up 5,000 compressed biogas plants all over the country by 23-24. 5,000 biogas plants, compressed biogas. And it is possible. We ourselves are leading in many, hundreds of those. We are working very hard towards a much cleaner fuel, that is hydrogen, which in fact is much cleaner than electric mobility, which many people in the West vouch for. In Delhi, we in Indian Oil have already started trials with 50 city buses of Delhi Transport Corporation, which are being operated in CNG mixed with hydrogen. This fuel proved to be not only efficient, but the emission level from these buses, old buses, have tremendously come down. While blue hydrogen will be a good beginning point, but we are working very strongly towards green hydrogen. Very soon in Indian Oil, we will have our own green hydrogen plant at Mathura refinery, a first in this country. It's a huge effort. Green hydrogen. We in refineries use a lot of hydrogen. But I'll spare a few moments for Industry 4.0, which is, of course, of my interest subject, as Swamiji already mentioned. There is a tremendous impact Industry 4.0 is making in this industry, every industry for that matter. In fact, restrictions during COVID-19 lockdown has only made us stronger in usage of new age technology. Today, we are using a lot of machine learning and diagnostic of various equipments, and actually it is possible to predict the failure of an equipment well in advance. We use robotics in many areas. It has actually improved efficiency in things like inspection. There are many, difficult areas we need to inspect continuously because we are in a hazardous industry. So there are robotics. It comes very easy, handy, online, immediate, and no need for somebody to go there closer to that location. Repair a lot of things where people cannot easily go. Difficult areas. Cleaning of hazardous things, we clean through robotics. And in fact, in our finance department, we started using robotic process automation. So the bills that a clerk passes did not have a person sitting behind. It can be done through robotics process automation. We are all using all this. These are reality. It has come to us. We must endeavor to maximize utilization of all these technologies. But remember, piecemeal solutions will not improve efficiently drastically. We need to have complete digital transformation of the organization for getting the real benefits of this newest technology. With these few words, I wish you all the very best and a successful conduct of the program. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Very touchy speech. In fact, mostly dedicated to our, you can say, the poor and downtrodden India, so that, and also the Indian Oil's initiatives for becoming the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I express my deep thanks and regards to Mr. Ghosh, and I feel that our association with Indian Oil will continue, will prolong, and will achieve a great height. Many, many thanks. Our next speaker is the Professor Ashkar Gupta. I can say many things, and you can say that people can say many things about him. He was a chairman of West Bengal Joint Entrance Board, and all the, I mean, you can say the transparency and other aspects. So now what is being followed? So all has been started, all the modernization and all such techniques. So in his period, his time, he was there in two, public sectors. Two public sectors means, I think the Railtel is one as an independent director, and also the Department of Atomic Energy. Were you there in the ONGC board, Bhaskar? ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, no?
No, not ONGC. Most probably you are confusing with Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India. I was independent director of that too.
Oh, I see, yes.
For about 5 years.
So now he has become only hardcore academician, not interested in anything. He says that I have got so much in my life, did so much in my life. So I now only the success of the students. That is the only thing he cherishes, and also in his role in IEEE. So because of him, we are organizing all these programs. He only said that, why don't you join? I said that this is the ashrama. Then he said that, why don't you join your hands with Jadavpur University? Because we require the sincere initiative, not that how much infrastructure you are having. And I am very rightly, I have seen that Professor Moitro, Shekhar Moitro is also having the same idea, and that is why from Macau we got immense support like that. So let us say that Professor Gupta, please deliver your lecture. Thank you very much, Professor Gupta.
Very good afternoon, very good evening to all the dignitaries. I was hearing to many of them, in fact, all of them from the beginning in a mesmerized way. So many things are there to know. In fact, all our speakers today, I just overwhelmed me with the extent of their knowledge and the ideas with which I myself became richer. I was been enriched. Actually, talking of this program, this internship program, we started it earlier last year, but at that time, we had it only in one stream, petroleum and petrochemical industries. But this year, we thought that we cannot do anything in today's world without IoT, without the newer aspects of Industry 4.0. In fact, petroleum industry is obviously the industry which shaped the future of civilization, not only the future, present and the future, throughout the last century and this century also. But now has come a time when even this petroleum industry cannot step forward without marrying, without a marriage with our IoT. And that's why we thought it pertinent to extend the program along another, let's say, vertical column that is on IoT this year, which would benefit our students really. Our students, as Dr. Poira, Professor Poira, like my guru, he pointed out rightly, have got unfortunately interned at their home rather than getting interned at industry, which was the original intention of introducing this internship program. Whatever, we in VIEM are actually trying our level best to give him the real touch, the real taste of the advances in industry today, of the advances in technology today. I mean, the goal with which this internship was started all over India, but VIEM is truly dedicated to this. And I am, well, I'm no stranger to VIEM, not only that, you know, all of you, or maybe many of you know, that Swami Vivekananda ji is actually my friend Sanjeevan Maharaj is very well known to me from much earlier days. We did lots of activities together, and even today, we are together in all our scientific and organizational endeavors. You know, Swamiji has proved his mettle both in the realms of spiritualism and technology. He is a leading chemical engineer of our country. And at the same time, the depth of his spiritual knowledge doesn't require any further qualification. And at the same time, we are so happy here to have dignitaries like Professor Moitro, Shekhar Moitro, and Professor Poira, and Professor Chiranjeev Bhattacharya. He's like my younger friend, Chiranjeev. You know, Chiranjeev actually pointed out truly how these two, IoT and petrochemical, can merge, and what are the requirements of IoT today, and to apply IoT in all the domains, how this is pervading all the domains. And then from Professor Moitro's beautifully worded speech, it's a nice one. I was also listening and thinking how the fundamental concepts of sustainable development and holistic development can be integrated along our course, along our journey forward, and along this particular course of VIEM also. And actually speaking, that was clarified by Mr. Partha Ghosh so nicely about how these two goals, of these two targets are continuously being maintained, and efforts are always on to meet those, that is sustainable development, without which our future would be not only bleak, but black. And holistic development, without which no specific development in a particular partial community can take place. So with these, I find that it was truly imperative to introduce the vertical on IoT and ICT in Industry 4.0, because as we see what happened initially after the Industrial Revolution, there came Industry 1.0, when the whole concept started changing from scattered, decentralized production to organized, centralized production and formation of big industries. So that was Industry 1.0. Then came Industry 2.0 first, with the advent of the digital computers in industry, that is digitalization, with the stepping forward of information technology, advancement of IT, came Industry 2.0 was going on, and that brought forth Industry 3.0. But Industry 4.0 is altogether different, involving quite a quantum leap forward, because now it involves artificial intelligence, and now it involves machine learning. Software-wise, every concept needs to get changed. Every concept needs to be thought of afresh. Just the way Mr. Ghosh was talking about application of ICT to locate the faults in pipelines and instruments. I remember even before the introduction of Industry 4.0, by the turn of this century, the neural networks were something quite new and raw at that time. I used Hopfield networks, recurrent Hopfield networks, to detect a failure of elements in a large antenna array and to allow for smart degradation of the array performance. At that time, that was a futuristic research, but now it's truly a reality. From Mr. Ghosh, what I heard, that just confirmed my belief. And that was reminding me of my research 20 years back. And even now I'm doing all those things. And possibly, not only possibly, I think whoever is involved in active research today, he has got no way to bypass IoT or the tools of ICT. So that's why it's so much important. You see, in early days, we were satisfied with man-to-man, human-to-human conversation, human-to-human communication. Then came the era of human-to-machine communication. Humans started instructing the machines and the machines working accordingly. Then came also machine-to-human communication. Machine them by themselves could say what problem they are having, what needs to be done. And now it's time where we are leading to a ubiquitous communication society where we even have machine-to-machine communication. Machines do not require human intervention to talk between themselves. That's the beauty of this era. But as many of our distinguished speakers pointed out today, all our developments must be sustainable so that our environment can be sustained, our civilization can be sustained. Actually, whatever we do, we should do it in a way where we cohabit with the nature, Mother Nature, and we do not fight with her. We do not wage a war against her. For a long time, we made that mistake. Now it's time to think afresh, to think in a new way, in every domain, in every way, in every realm, in every aspect. So I think is the true importance of these courses. That's why, I myself was out of station today, but I came rushing to join you. And although it's a virtual mode, but from highway, obviously, I could not. That's why I feel these programs are so important. And these are truly important for our next generation, for our students, this internship program is essentially meant for them. And I see that already when we start the course on petrochemical, we have got a large number of responses. And we are going to start the one on IoT from 6th of next month. I'm sure we'll get equally huge amount of response for that too. And I'm once again thanking all our speakers, all our dignitaries, and all our participants here for listening to me, giving me this opportunity to talk to him, and benefiting via email through your contributions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bhaskar. In fact, Professor Bhaskar Gupta ke thanks diye chota korbo na, because I don't know whether you understand Bengali or not. Because you see, this organization is yours. You are the chief, honorary chief mentor of our ashrama. So, but definitely, because of with so much preoccupation, still you can manage everything, and that's why the motion goes on. That is the thing. Our next speaker is Mr. Ashanendu Mondal. Ashanendu da. Ashanendu Mondal, we made him the coordinator of this program. Mr. Mondal has got a very, very long innings in ONGC. He was there as the chief general manager, and he had a very thorough knowledge on the particular subject. And then again, he joined for his PhD and other academic occupations in Calcutta University. So I request our respected Ashanendu da to say about the course, that what is our plan, and we have already made the schedule. We will show the first week. So before that, let Ashanendu tell that how we are approaching. Ashanendu da.
Yeah. Thank you, Swami Vedananandji. Very good evening to all of you. As he has already mentioned, my name is Ashanendu Mondal. I worked in ONGC for more than 34 years. You are all aware that ONGC is highly connected with this particular course of this internship program, that is the petroleum and petrochemicals. Because ONGC is the national oil company, it is the PSU organization, but it is the premier oil producer company in India. More than 60 to 65% of petroleum, that is crude oil and natural gas, being produced by ONGC. And ONGC, it's not only an upstream company now, the total chain of petroleum, that is from the production to its reforming in the refinery. Because we have, the ONGC has the MRPL like Mangalore refinery, and with HPCL, the Hindustan Petroleum has got many refineries across this country. Otherwise also, ONGC is involved in petrochemicals, because ONGC Petro Addition Limited, that is Opal in Dahej, is having a very big petrochemical industry. And ONGC otherwise also is connected with the power plant in Tripura. So it is totally a fit company for this particular course. And I got this opportunity, and I am very much grateful to Swamiji for giving me this responsibility to conduct and design this particular course for you students. So I will not take much time basically for giving a lecture as such, because you have already heard a lot of things from petroleum and petrochemicals from the eminent speakers in this inaugural address, like Dr. Chiranjeev Bhattacharya has already indicated many things. You have already heard Professor Saikat Mitra. You have already heard Professor Bhaskar Gupta, and you have heard from Professor B.V. Paira, and also from industry, Mr. Partha Ghosh, the Executive Director of Indian Oil Corporation, and now posted at Haldia Refinery. Before I just elaborate about this particular course, I just cannot resist myself to say my heartfelt thanks to two eminent personalities who are present here. One is Professor B.B. Paira. Incidentally, I was a student of him while I was studying chemical engineering from Calcutta University in the year of 1978 to 1981. And after that, doing my postgraduate at IIT Kharagpur and joined ONGC. So I am very much grateful and happy to see Professor B.B. Paira on this dais. And another is Mr. Partho Ghosh, whom I had involved with many meetings, because ONGC and Indian Oil, they need to be bonded together, because one is the producer, another is the buyer, to further reform it in the refinery. So we had many sweet memories with Partho Ghosh. So I will not elaborate them. I am very much happy to see both of them together, and I have heard from them. It's really marvelous to hear all those good things about the present scenario and the future. Now, whatever you have heard basically from these speakers, how important about this petroleum and petrochemicals, I am happy to inform you that both the things are being covered in our internship program. The petrochemical, before that, the petroleum, which is, as I said, the crude oil. In India, in fact, we are importing, no doubt, because our country's production is very less. But if you see the energy contribution for petroleum, it is almost 29%, and with natural gas around 35%. So if you see the world average, it is around 51%. So we are quite lacking in this. But the thing is, Mr. Partho Ghosh has already explained, the energy consumption in India is very less, and the how convenient to use these petroleum products for energy point of view. So that is already explained. So that means you can understand that we will have a very good involvement, or very bright involvement required in future to go along with the petroleum. And secondly, the petrochemicals, which is basically the important aspects as far as the whatever we use, as such, the plastics, the packaging materials, the paints, the textiles, everything is coming from petrochemicals only. So both petroleum and petrochemicals have very good requirement in future. And although some touch has already been given about the bad impacts of these materials from the carbon footprint or the pollution point of view, but still I can say from my own experience, otherwise also you can go through the literature and you'll find that at least even if we are to give a lot of emphasis for the renewable energy or alternate sources of energy, but still the petroleum and petrochemicals have to continue for not less than 40 years. So definitely its importance is there. To study with this particular course will be very much beneficial. And I must say that because to get you understood about these particular aspects, we have taken the help of the speakers we have invited from Indian Oil Corporation. We have also got Reliance Industries. We have also got from the academia like Calcutta University. And of course, I will be also there to contribute certain things from the upstream sector with my experience of ONGC. So all the, there will be many other speakers from other universities also. They will be definitely contributing to let you know whatever you feel like to understand through this course. With this, I say once again, thanks to Swamiji for giving me this opportunity to design this course along with the other organizing committee members, and definitely will make it success. And the way basically you have already seen the luminaries, the eminent speakers from industry and academia have already explained the importance of it. We have already got their blessings. So I am sure that this particular internship program will have a very bright success with your presence. Now, only one part I must say, other than the speaker and the topics, the timings is from 5 to 7 every day in a sense, 3 days in a week. That will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So every day there will be 2 hours course, 5 to 7. And all the students, as it is designed for the students, mainly for the internship program. So we expect, and it is a compulsion basically, every of the students has to attend it very wholeheartedly and very seriously. They should note down whatever is being learned, because we will have an examination at the end of this particular course, so that we can take whatever we could contribute through these lectures, whether I have understood by them or not. And the certificates also will be issued based on the result. So I'll request all the students or the participants to be particular about attendance, as well as to note down the important aspects of the course which will be taught. That's all, Swamiji. I think nothing else is to be explained right now. I will not take much time. There will be many more presentations to start with also. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harshanendu. Really, it's a very explanatory deliberation. I request Pomi. I think you have been, all the participants have been introduced to Pomi. Pomi, please come here and yes. First, you present the schedule for the first week. Actually, we will show you like week by week. This is the schedule for first week. And first week itself, we got a very able speaker, Mr. Shantanu Sen. I am very grateful to Mr. Partha Ghosh. Just I requested him, and within 1 day, he has allocated his very able colleague, Mr. Shantanu Sen, the Chief Technical Services Manager, IOCL. So the first week itself, he is having 2 lectures. One lecture is by the global oil and gas expert. Just now we will listen to his lecture, Mr. Pradeep Sen Sharma. He also had a long innings in ONGC, and now managing the the oil exploration business in Abu Dhabi, where he will speak just after that. And Professor S.K. Dash is our, last head of the department of the last year. He was the head of the department of University of Calcutta Chemical Engineering Department. Also, he was the earlier honorary secretary of Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers when I was the All India treasurer of that Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers. And Harshanendu, already I mentioned, he already has been acquainted with the group. So this is the first 2 weeks schedule. And with this, I request our Mr. P.K. Sen Sharma to start his deliberation. If just you can mention 1 or 2 words about yourself, because that will be more lively. So, Mr. Sen Sharma, please.
Yeah, good evening. Am I audible?
Yeah, surely.
Okay. Yeah, just to introduce myself in short, I'm Pradeep Sen Sharma. First of all, I'm a graduate from Jadavpur University in Chemical Engineering, and I did post-graduation from IIT Kanpur. And I worked in ONGC, and happy to see my colleague Harshanendu Mondal after a very, very long time, probably 30 years or so.
Yeah, I was not sure you were present. I'm sorry to name you.
Yeah. And then after that, okay, all my experiences in upstream oil and gas, basically oil exploration production. So people call me, my brain is full of oil only, nothing else. I worked in ONGC for a long time. Then I worked in Abu Dhabi Marine Operating Company, followed by a stint of few years in British Gas in Mumbai, and then back here in ADNOC Group. Currently, I'm working in one of the major oil fields in Abu Dhabi. So when Swami Vedganananda asked me to just give a brief, very short brief about what engineers can do in oil and gas fields. So this is what I'm here for. But before I tell you what engineers can do, I'll just tell you a short story. Few days back, I met one of the young EV engineers here. He was looking worried and telling me probably our future in oil is not anymore there. Oil is khalas. Khalas is, by the way, in Arabic, it means the end of it. So I asked him, why you think like that? Oil is khalas. He said, UAE is one of the largest producer of oil, largest reserve, and they have started this atomic power plant. They're going for this nuclear energy. That means oil is khalas. So this may be the doubt in many young engineers' mind, is oil really has come to its end? And you might be hearing a lot about transformation of energy from oil to other forms of energy. In fact, there is a big kick started from this Paris Agreement in 2015, where almost all countries in the world have agreed. It is a binding agreement, by the way, a legally binding agreement, agreed to bring down this global warming. And one of the main ways of reducing global warming is reduce carbon dioxide, reduce these global warming gases. And what is the main source of this is the fossil fuel. So we might tend to think that there will be a lot of transformation away from fossil fuel. And as a result, oil will come down very shortly. And there may be no future in oil. But I think this one, particular one was touched by Dr. Partha Ghosh, and even Asunendu also told that it is not the case. Okay, global oil demand might come down after 2035, but gas demand is increasing. And particularly for India, where per capita consumption is much lower than world average. And there is a huge GDP growth, which will definitely fuel increase of oil consumption. And it was rightly said by 2040, our oil demand is going to go high, almost double than what we are today, 250 to 500 million tons. So there is future in oil. So right now, don't worry about it. Jump into it, oil and gas. So now where all different kinds of engineers can work in oil and gas, I'll just I'll just touch upon different areas of oil and gas industry where engineers can work. First of all, I don't know if maybe I'm not sure about the mix of the students here. Is there any petroleum engineering students here, or okay, anyway, maybe there may be some petroleum engineering students, may not be, but let me give an idea. Okay, this oil and gas. Okay, the very first thing it starts is to find oil where it is. Okay, and the best way to find oil is doing different kind of surveys. And one of the major surveys done is seismic survey. Apart from seismic survey, there is gravity survey, magnetic survey, electrical surveys. So all these surveys are done of a large area to find where there are oil-bearing structures and the best location to find oil. So it all starts with these surveys and all. So who are involved in these surveys? The geoscientists basically. And geoscientists, there are different streams of this geoscience, like a geophysicist, then geologist, geochemist, hydrogeologist, even mining engineers are involved, sedimentologist. So all these different branches of geoscience are getting involved in this survey operations. So after survey of a huge area, particular area, then they can find the best possible locations where oil might be there. By outside survey, nobody can tell you actually oil is there or not. They can only tell oil bearing structure is there or not. So you have to go for actual drilling of the most probable locations to find if oil is there. So there comes the drilling engineers and petroleum engineers. First of all, before going to drilling, these survey results are all analyzed by two different kinds of engineers: petroleum engineers and reservoir engineers. So reservoir engineers, what they do the modeling of the reservoir, they do reservoir simulation studies, then characterization of that particular thing. They do some petrophysical studies also. And petroleum engineers will design the well locations and all. And then drilling engineers will go there for drilling. Now, reservoir engineers, petroleum engineers, which branch of engineering people go there? They may come from the petroleum engineering branch itself. ISM Dhanbad in the eastern region is the premier organization, and there are other organizations also from where petroleum engineers graduate, and chemical engineers and mechanical engineers. These three branches, basically they go for this reservoir engineering, petroleum engineering. In fact, other branches of engineering graduates also can enter there. It depends upon their first experience and all. Okay. Then once they fix the locations, they do some drilling. They have to do some drilling, then drilling engineers come. And who are the drilling engineers? Same, petroleum, mechanical, chemical. Even some electrical engineers can become drilling engineers. So after drilling, we come to know where oil is there, then how much oil is there, what is the extent of the reservoir. These are all analyzed by these three groups: drilling engineer, this petroleum engineer, geophysicist, geologist, and the reservoir engineers. And then it is time to take production out of the reservoir. So there a new set of engineering discipline comes, which is called production engineers. Now, production engineers, what they do? They will do the daily management of oil and gas production operations. And they will, once the well is drilled, that well needs maintenance. We call it workover sometimes, workover operation, or a well needs many intervention in the well. These all are done by the production engineers. And which disciplines go for this production engineering? Same, back. Basically, these three disciplines: chemical, petroleum, mechanical, and sometimes other discipline engineers also can go work as production engineers. Now, there is one more set of engineer, one more set of specialization comes is the completion engineer. When a well is drilled, this particular well has got many components in it. I'm not going to explain in detail. Maybe I'll touch upon a little bit more detail in my next encounter with you next week. This completion engineer, they design the full wells. What are we call it jewelries. There are different casings, different tubings, different valves goes into the well. So they design all these wells, and they design and maintain the wells. They design how to control the reservoir. So basically, the overall completion of the well, they design. They're called completion engineers. Again, same streams of engineering, petroleum, chemical, mechanical engineering can work as completion engineer. Now, this is so far as the well. When you consider the wells, okay, within the well, we need all these different disciplines, reservoir and well. Now, when the oil comes to the surface, that oil is to be processed. So oil is to be processed means now we have come to the surface and we need the process plants on the surface. So here, different kinds of engineers enter. So somebody has to design it, people have to design it, then people have to operate it, people have to maintain it, people have to maintain the safety, integrity of the facilities and all. So here, the design progresses with process engineer in the center. He gets the reservoir fluids properties and all. He designs the plant fully, how it will be, how it will go, how the oil will be processed. Now, what is the oil processing in the upstream? The oil which is coming from the reservoir is having oil, gas, and water. What is used? What is used is the oil by the refineries and gas also by the gas plants, refineries or gas plants. Water is not used. So you have to, the upstream oil plant, particularly in offshore oil platforms, their processing is basically separating these three products, oil, gas, and water, and then process them individually to make them suitable for use in the refineries. First of all, water has got no use in the refineries. So water is basically injected back into some reservoir, Oil is to be processed to make it suitable for the refineries. Refineries, what are the specifications they need? They will need the BS&W, means basic sediments and water content, then H2S content, the API gravity. These are the basic, and salt content. So the upstream plants in the offshore, they treat this oil through different processing systems to arrive at a crude which is acceptable to the refineries, and then that is exported by sea tankers or pipeline or whatever. Gas also same. Gas also, it has to, basically gas, you have to achieve certain type of moisture content. You have to bring it below certain things. So we dehydrate this gas. It has to achieve certain pressure. So we compress this gas. So these are the processes. And water, before dumping into the sea, it has to go through a process to remove all the oil from the water. So basically, these are the three basic processes done in upstream oil and gas. And then this product reach the refineries, and the refineries take care of further processing this crude to bring you the final products which you use. Now, this, what are the type of engineers who work in this processing in this upstreams? We call it surface facilities. Is process engineer. Process engineer is most of the time is chemical engineer who understands the chemical processes, and they start with ISIS in the beginning, very beginning, who understands the chemical processes, and he can analyze, he can design the process of oil and gas. There are different processes for oil and gas. He will design it to get maximum recovery of the oil up to this specification, and maximum recovery of the gas, and getting the specified water which is suitable for injection into the reservoir. So the whole plant design starts with a process engineer. And then what are the other discipline of engineers who get involved in it? Is mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, because there will be so many electrical drives, mechanical engineers, because there will be so many mechanical systems. Mechanical systems means there will be vessels, which we call static mechanical system, piping, pipelines, pumps, rotating machine, pumps. And then electrical engineer, for so many electrical drives will be there to run the processes. And a very important engineering discipline to work is the control and instrumentation engineer. Particularly nowadays, everything is going towards automation. They play a very big role in designing the whole system and finally operating also. Then there are civil and structural engineers. In offshore locations, most of the jackets, most of the these facilities are steel structures. So structural engineers have a field role there. And in onshore facilities, you have many civil structures. So civil engineers work mostly on onshore facilities. These all engineers, process engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical, control instrumentation, and structural engineers, they get basically involved right from the designing of the plant all the way up to the operation and continuing the operation of the plants. Their roles are continuous there. They have to go with the processes. Once a process is designed and operated, then over a period of time, they need a lot of maintenance work. Then period of time, they might need a lot of modification works and all. These are all managed by all these discipline engineers. And one overarching of all these things, all these activities is an engineer whose role has become very prominent nowadays in almost all industries. It is the HSE engineer. We call it safety engineer, or health, safety, and environmental engineer. He looks after the safety, health, and environment of the facilities, right from the design of the facilities to operation and up to the end of operation, and maybe demobilizing the facilities and all. He has a very stellar role because nowadays every industries, not only oil and gas, have got HSE as the topmost in their mind. No industry or no company wants to hurt its own people, wants to damage its environment, and wants to damage the health of the people, or wants to damage the equipment. So HSE engineers bring their expertise, advises all other engineers. They bring up the HSE activities, which all engineers have to follow in their work. Who can become HSE engineer? Any engineering degree with further maybe some diploma or degree. There are degree in HSE engineering also. I think even in West Bengal, there are a few colleges who has introduced these HSE courses. They can become HSE engineer. Now, as I explained, probably all different kinds of engineering disciplines can play their roles in oil and gas facilities. In fact, when you talk about engineering, engineers basically, any branch of engineering, what you learn in the colleges is training your minds to think as an engineer. Now, what is an engineering mind? Engineering mind is basically, they have got a unique mode of thinking. They can see everything as a system. They can analyze that system. They can break it down into subsystems. They can then check the links between the subsystems. They can break the systems and then rejoin the systems. This is the kind of engineering mind which is percolated in you during your courses in any branch of engineering. And when you go to actual field, actual industrial work, that experience builds on your this basic instinct. And I'm sure there are many process engineers whose original degree was mechanical engineer, and he happened to work as a process engineer in the beginning, and he became very good process engineers. Not only chemical engineers, there are mechanical engineers who is working as process engineer. There are electrical engineers who is a very good HSE engineer now. So basically the basic instinct which is being put into your brain during this engineering courses will help you. And you can excel either in one field or the other field. And oil and gas is a very good place for probably all different kinds of engineering disciplines. And I welcome you to come to oil and gas industry. Thank you very much.
Very practical address, our Pradeep Sharma. I should mention this on this occasion that Pradeep was a very star in our university he got the silver medal. That means the first class second in our batch, and also had a very shining career from IIT Kanpur. So our next speaker is Professor Rajiv Mukherjee. Professor Dr. Rajiv Mukherjee. I have a slide for him so that I should show. Can you show, Rajiv? Can you show your? Oh, okay. We are presenting your slide first. Yes. Just a minute. Yes. This is our Rajiv. Actually, I got acquainted with him with Devolina, his wife, who is the alumnus of our chemical engineering department. That means my alma mater of Jagatpur University. Rajiv is presently assistant professor, Department of Chemical Engineering. He will speak on IoT, but basically he is a chemical engineer. That we should, acknowledge this. University of Texas Permian Basin, Odessa. Multivariate statistics, machine learning, and stochastic optimization. These are the areas of interest. Had 35 journal publications, 8 book chapters, and several conference presentations. Rising Stars faculty grant he has obtained. That's a huge amount of grant. Already it has been stated there. Oak Ridge Institute of Science and Education Fellowship and all these things. And he is also the author of the very renowned, you can say, the peer-reviewed journal that is measuring progress towards sustainability. So I request Rajiv to speak on IoT, and that is basically how the core engineers, they can involve themselves. So like you, Rajiv, please.
Thank you, Swamiji, for the kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Sen Sharma for this wonderful presentation. He actually kind of helped me to start my talk. He told about process engineering, and we chemical engineers, we see things in terms of process. So I don't know the background of like which engineering branches you were from, or what other science and technology or any other things that you are that your background is, but I will try to give you an idea of what is IIoT and how it actually plays a very significant role in process systems engineering. So basically, it's like utilizing industrial Internet of Things in process systems engineering. So the things that I'm going to talk about very briefly, of course, is what is IIoT and what is digitization of process industries. What Mr. Sen Sharma told, that once we get the crude, and it's a three-phase thing, oil, water, and gas, we need to process it before we make it ready for the refineries. So my work is in that area where after we get the crude, we process it and putting it into the refineries. A little bit of more background about me is that the university where I am a faculty, it's a small university located in West Texas and right in the heart of Permian Basin. And Mr. Sen Sharma will be knowing that Permian Basin is the leading oil and gas producing area in USA and in Texas, New Mexico area. So my university, like if you go to my university from my the window in the back of my office, I see our oil field. So gas and oil explorations there. So that is where I am located. So naturally, my research and my thinking is all related to oil and gas. And then again, I am I'm an engineer who is also trained in statistics, multivariate statistics, and machine learning. So I apply all this in process engineering. So first of all, when I will talk about digitization, we have to remember that even though this is these words, so what happened in engineering is that new word comes and the whole industry gets flooded with that, and they think that it's entirely new, and they start jump into it and start working on it. And then again, the idea shifts, but some very core things like the oil and gas, and as Mr. Sen Sharma told, will be there for I think like for 50-100 years now. There is absolutely no problem. It will be oil. Of course, the percentage of usage of fossil fuel will decrease, but the net volume of increase because of the growth of economy and all, it will keep on increasing. So it's obviously like for fresh engineers like you, it's something challenging and something exciting, and you should jump into without worry that whether oil and gas will be there or not. So what we are actually doing is digitizing these processes when they are got from the well, and when we are doing the process, we are digitizing it so that we can better monitor it for safety, for environmental purpose, as well as to increase the efficiency of those processes. So what this mean by monitoring, I will talk about that, monitoring a process, and what is this instrumentation and control that Mr. Sen Sharma told, which is a prominent field, is a rising field, and this IIoT comes into that part of it. Basically, everything is under process system engineering, so you cannot separate it from the design part. So, for example, if you are monitoring a process plant, you are actually putting a lot of sensors there, okay, to monitor it, to say the temperature, pressure, the mole fraction, the compositions, and all other variables or process parameters. So and it should be done from the design perspective. Like you cannot like have a industry ready and then you decide all of a sudden that you will monitor you will monitor and you will insert sensors. Of course, you can do that, but then it is more work. It is redundant work that you need to do then. So it's better to start from the beginning. That means from the design phase. So what is digitization of this process industries? What is digitization of process industries, and what is already known, and what we are going to do new, and finally some few test cases from real industrial test cases that I'm going to talk about, because I started working with an AI company, and some of the test cases that they have done, I will just give you the definition of those of the problems what they have solved through AI. And definitely for this 10 minutes time, it's not sufficient to go into details. So what is an IIoT? So IIoT stands for Industrial Internet of Things. So Internet of Things actually means basically a network of objects or physical things that is connected through sensors and softwares, and they are connected with other devices like computers, so that they can exchange data among themselves. Okay, and when we apply this thing, and this thing can be applied in say electrical circuits, in process engineering, or different things. So when we apply it for an industrial setup, especially in a process engineering, we call it Industrial Internet of Things. So that's basically the definition. And when we say that we want to digitize it, okay, there are why we need to digitize it, because in this process, like for example gas processing, which is kind of my expertise I work in, that Mr. Sen Sharma told, once we get the gas, we need to make it, we need to dry it, we need to remove the carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, and so that the to make it what we call the sweet gas, that means to remove the acidic components, and then we need to dry it so that it is pipeline quality, so that the refinery can take it from there. So in this process, there are a lot of data. Okay, large number of sensors will be positioned in different equipment. There are equipments like an absorption unit, there are desorption units, there are regenerators. So all these process, they needs to be monitored continuously so that we can have the right thermodynamic condition where they can operate properly and give the desired results. So there are a lot of process variables or process parameters, and they are correlated with each other. Like the entire process plant, they are correlated. They are correlated how? They are correlated by the phase equilibrium, by the material balance, by the energy balance. If you are a chemical engineer, you will be familiar with this thing, but in general, it means that the materials that goes into a process and that the thing that comes out, I mean, you can have an entire like what we call the first principle base. That means a basic mole balance to find the balance between the input output parameters. But if we want to do that using a mole balance to find first principle based model of the entire process, that's a huge time consuming. The computational need is very high. So the easier route is to go in a database approach. That means we will take the input data and the output data and create a model. And most often, this kind of models are machine learning based models. That means these are statistical models, and they can, I mean, they can predict the input output relation. That means what are the raw materials that is going into the process and what is coming out. They can correlate very nicely, like 95% root mean square accuracy and so on. I mean, the relation between the actual process plant data and the model data, they are very close. I mean, there are statistical means to get it so with high accuracy. So that is where we go into the digitalization. Then there are statistical methods to actually make a use of this data to predict the quality of the process. So we can monitor a particular equipment, or we can monitor the entire process. You will heard the terminologies like digital twin. So what digital twin is nothing but a mathematical model of the actual process. If you take or actual unit, you can do a digital twine of a particular unit, for example, an absorption or a distillation column or a stripping column. You can make a digital twin of that, or you can make a digital twin of the entire process. So it's nothing but mathematical model. So once you make a model of the process, mathematical model, and it can be machine learning or first principle model, but generally like nowadays when we say AI, we are actually going into a machine learning and database model, not the entire mole balance and creating the model. And then what we do with that data, basically this data comes in the form of matrix. The matrix can be 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. And once we get the data matrix, that means what are the variables we are, and oftentimes they are time series data, like at different time, how the pressure is changing, how the temperature is changing, how the mole fraction is changing. And based on that data and doing statistical analysis, we can predict the quality of the process, like whether it is running properly, whether there is any impending chances of fault, what we call a fault detection, can be done with this data. And statistical techniques like principal component analysis, the Fisher discriminant analysis, partially squared, these are used for that purpose. They are not very simple statistical means like finding the mean, median, mode, but they comes under the multivariate statistics, and because there are multiple variables, but they are very powerful. I mean, and this is something that people are using for I would say over 20-25 years. And the McMaster University of Canada is one of the leading, where there are renowned faculties like McGregor and all. They have worked on it for a long time. So basically, we process engineers, we borrowed the theory from statistics, famous statistician. We applied it in process industry, and we found success. Very few companies, big companies like Dow and all, they were using these methods. People like Li Qiang and all, they were applying that, but it was not common. Like it was not common for every process industries or every oil and gas industries is using these techniques and statistical methods to monitor their systems and all. So there, when this digitization came in the latest era, what happened is that because of the powerful computers that we have got nowadays and the data processing capabilities, we are actually bringing it down to like almost all companies, even small companies, they can harness this big data. And there comes the industry 4.0. When we talk about industry 4.0, we know that for industry 1 is like when the steam engine came, industry 2, when the machine came, the industry says electrical, robotics came, and industry 4.0 is now that the data-based monitoring of the industry. So that the industry 4.0, when someone talks about, is basically bringing this, harnessing this big, what we call the big data. That means huge amount of data that is lying there when you are monitoring the process. Now what to do with that data? So how we can harness those big data for the and use it for the benefit of the industries, and that is safety, environment, and so on. So this is an new industry revolution, which emphasize on interconnectivity, automation, machine learning, then real-time data analytics, and so on, is used here. So all those terminologies that you know, like machine learning, deep learning, computer visions, big data analytics, everything is used in Industry 4.0, and they all come under the AI or artificial intelligence component. So process industries. So this is the new part, is that what we were doing the monitoring using the multivariate statistics before. That was there for a long time, but in the recent time, what with the advent of big data, harnessing the big data in Industry 4.0, the additional thing that we are bringing here is three things that where it is used prominently. One is asset management, what we call the prognostic asset management. Basically what it does, it reduces the helps to reduce the maintenance cost, increase the equipment availability by forecasting unforeseen events. So we can what we call the historical data. We can take the historical data of a process, and data means like the matrix of data, where like a time series data, where how the different sensor data, process variables are varying in time, and we can use this machine learning to create a model, and then predict like when in future when the process may need a downtime. That means, for example, if a fouling is growing, if there is a reactor and if some fouling is growing in that, and the efficiency of the reactor is going down with time, so when we need a maintenance can be predicted by analyzing the data. So basically what this AI will deliver is a decision-making tool. Then there are product quality. We can predict the quality of the product. We can asset monitoring, real-time process monitoring, whether there are possibilities of a fault. It comes under fault detection and diagnosis. So real-time monitoring the process, instead of looking into every process by the operators, we can create a model and what you call the computer vision. Like in one place, people can look at it and see whether the process is operating properly or any of these process variables is going wrong, and they can address it much before it can happen. So this is more or less the.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Actually, we are little, running short of time.
Yes. I know that. Yes. Yeah. So that's more or less what I wanted to say. And yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Very, very illuminating ideas. We will be, getting the detailed discussion in the next session.
Yes, I just told like what is done, but I didn't tell how. Yes. I didn't tell how, because when it comes to how that actual technology comes in.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Sandeep Nanda. Sandeep, are you here? Hello.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Good evening.
You please introduce Swarup, your friend. Already the formal slide I have already shown for Professor Swarup here. But you tell about your association, and then Swarup will start the lecture.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, here it comes. So thanks, Paulami, for bringing up the slide on Swarup. So good evening and good morning, everyone, based on wherever you are today. And many thanks to our respected Maharajji Swami Vedaganandaji for inviting me here to be in this program this evening. This is such a wonderful program. I really thoroughly enjoying it. My sincere thanks to all the renowned speakers and dignitaries from academics and industry. And really happy to see that this kind of internship programs has been started for the engineering students. And these internship programs are becoming very, very important for every engineering student aspiring for their next journey in their career. So wish them all the very best. And my pleasure to introduce my classmate, Professor Saurabh Bhuiya. I mean, I am hesitating to call him professor because we call him so closely by name only. But yeah, Professor Bhuiya, he was our classmate in higher secondary, 1989 to 91 batch in Belur Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandir, Belur Math. And he was our class topper. Okay. And that is still he's proving by his worth in the field of academics. So I'm really thrilled and honored to hear from Sharup today. So without any further delay, I'll rather stop. Maybe we'll talk sometime about me sometime later, but I'll stop and I'll invite Professor Saurabh Bhuiya to talk about this particular program. And once again, my sincere thanks to Maharajji and regards to all seniors, and love and best wishes to the students. So take care and stay blessed. Thank you.
Okay, then thank you, Sandeep. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's morning here in Florida, very sunny, warm morning.
Hello.
Yes.
Just 1 minute. We have made one slide for Sandeep also. So
okay,
so
sure.
Though he has not to speak, but just to show that slide, and then you will continue.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, no problem.
This is just for making fun. Sometimes fun is necessary. Otherwise, it will be very boring.
Yes.
Sure. Yes, this is our Sandeep.
That's so nice of you, Maharajji.
Vice President MAMSI's Consulting Services, Founding Director Seva Brata Foundation. So his main intention is to portray that he is a philanthropic man. So, and we are very happy to get, at least I am very happy to get one of my such students. Okay, so all other things are being written here. He stayed abroad for long years, and then afterwards he came and he settled in Bangalore. Started a startup type company where he is the vice president. So thanks to Sandeep, and let us resume the presentation of Saurabh. Saurabh, please continue.
Sure. Thank you, Maharajji. Let me know if you can see my slides.
Oh, surely.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Sandeep, you take me back 30 years before, 1989 to 1991, and we together had probably some of the most memorable moments in our life, and some of the greatest teaching from Maharajji, whom we fondly call Sanjeevan Maharaj. So his teaching, of course, blessing of Thakur Sri Ramakrishna and of course Swami Vivekananda are always with us, guiding us, and also providing constant inspiration. This is a great opportunity, and I must say the initiative Maharajji you have taken with your colleagues and collaborators is extremely commendable, and this is what is needed right now for the talents we have in India and West Bengal, to groom them with the prospect of modern technology, particularly IoT and AI. It's such an important topic. I must admit that I have practically no knowledge of petrochemical industry. I have practically no knowledge about petroleum process engineering and other things. So I was listening diligently and of course trying to learn as much as I could. My background is computer science and to some extent computer engineering, which basically means the software and hardware of computers. So I would try to give the talk, and it would be rather technical, but I know that there is Zoom fatigue. You are listening to us for over two hours now, so I would be mindful about that, and I will try to see if I can keep it light enough. But feel free to stop me anytime. Maharajji, I think I have 25 minutes, right? Or less. I can adjust as you ask me. Okay, I'll consider 25 minutes and go from there. So feel free to stop me anytime, and I'll be happy to take questions in between. Typically, when I give a talk, I talk about the institute I belong to. I have the privilege to serve as a director for this very, very promising, I would say, powerful institute in the University of Florida. That's the #1 university in the state of Florida. As you probably know, Florida is one of the largest states in the United States in terms of population. And of course, Florida is in the news all the time for many different reasons, including the fact that the Delta variant is very, very prominent, or the spread of Delta variant of COVID is very, very prominent in Florida, state of Florida right now, and we are taking all good precautions. So I'll talk about COVID in a short while, but Florida is always in the news for different reasons, be it hurricane or COVID or politics or other things. So I'm really glad to be here in Florida. I'm here for the last 5 years. Before that, I was in another university in Cleveland, Ohio. So Florida, as I mentioned briefly in the onset of my talk, it has very similar weather as Kolkata. It's pretty warm, pretty humid. It's a tropical weather. We see the plants and other things which are very much like Kolkata. If you are visiting US, please let me know. I'll be happy to host you here. So in terms of the institute, this is called Warren B. Names Institute for the Connected World. This is the only named institute in the College of Engineering at University of Florida. It's named by Warren B. Names, one of our alumnus, and he was an IoT pioneer. David Names, his son, he was former chairman and CEO of Discover Financial Services. I think you have probably heard about Discover Credit Card and other things. So he was the CEO for that company. He donated $6 million US dollar. And then Sachio Semoto, a series entrepreneur, a Japanese billionaire, also our alumnus, he donated $2 million. And together we established the first named institute in the college to focus on Internet of Things. And I'll talk about Internet of Things because I think you have heard about the term, you have some concepts, but I would like to define it from my perspective so that you know what we mean about Internet of Things and how artificial intelligence can intersect or does intersect with Internet of Things. Okay. So the institute has an endowed chair position, and that I'm privileged to hold at this point. This is the faces. These are the faces of the institute, and there are 51 faculty members all across the university, 10 departments, 5 colleges. I'm really glad to have such a diverse population of researchers, and I'm being the lead to assemble them and to do different things in terms of research. There are a lot of fantastic research activities going on. It will take me a day or probably days to talk about all of them. I'll give you a quick sampling of some of the research activities I am driving here. I'll not be able to talk about all those research going on. IoT is extremely broad, as you know. IoT is extremely applied, as you know. And IoT is empowered by AI. So because of all these reasons, there's just so much to talk about. The potential of IoT is so much. I joke that IoT can do all the magics you want it to do. So there are a lot to talk about. I probably would leave the details for the later, longer discussion and presentation, which Maharajji asked me to do in September. So if you're interested, I'll be happy to talk about those. But I'm really pleased to have such a diverse group of people here. So I talked about research, and I'll talk about a lot more as we move along in the short time. I'll keep it condensed, but I'll at least point out what kind of research activities are going on. But not just research, we are at the forefront of education and training. And when we talk about training, it's extremely important, right? I mean, if you are I know there are a lot of students here, and we do interact with students all the time. If you are a student and if you are trying to do good things in IoT, which means that you are trying to take the IoT technology and apply it to solve global problems in climate, problems in manufacturing, which Rajiv, my former speaker, talked about. We talked about the industrial IoT. I'll not go into that, but IoT, as I mentioned, IoT is doing magic in many different sectors, many different fields. It's really impacting all our lives. But if as a student, if you want to either do research on IoT or to employ IoT to solve new problems and exploit its capabilities in new areas, and I'll give you some examples, then you need to know how the IoT can be used, right? You need to have trainings, proper trainings and education on IoT, and we are doing a lot in that. And I'll be happy to talk about what we can offer. Maybe we can help with running IoT courses. We have developed hands-on Lego type modules for IoT training. These can be targeted to undergraduate students, graduate students, even high school students. My daughter is 9-year-old right now, one of my daughters, and we are developing a module for her to learn IoT. So I'll be happy to talk about that. There's a lot going on IoT education, and the major focus is to do hands-on, minds-on training. That's number one. The number two is that IoT education for all. I mentioned about undergraduate, graduate, high school students. Unless you educate all of them and educate early enough, I don't think you can really create a strong workforce which is trained in the power of IoT, which is trained in the power of AI, and who can go to the marketplace and transform the world. So that's extremely important. And for that, we are developing a lot of training and educational materials. So I'll take a quick pause here, and I'll reflect on this fundamental question. What is IoT, or Internet of Things? I think all of you have some ideas about that, but I would like to define it from my perspective. Again, as a teacher, that's something I take pride in, and that's something I feel as my duty to define IoT. But before I define IoT, or Internet of Things, first I would like to define computers. I think all of you again know about it, but again, as I said, I would like to reflect on these fundamental questions. What is a computer, and what are the different classes of computers? Right? So if you look at historically, computers have been of two types. General purpose computers. I think all of you know about that. You work on your laptop, you work on your desktop. I think some of you have also worked on servers. So these are all general purpose computers or general purpose machines, computing machines, right? They are characterized by their versatility and programmability. You can take a laptop and you can do pretty much anything you want, anything a computer can do. Of course, computing has a limit. Computer cannot do everything. And of course, that those limits have been studied by theoretical computer scientists a lot. Alan Turing, one of the pioneers in doing that, as probably you have heard of Alan Turing, a British mathematician. Now, on the other hand, you also have seen a different class of computers, which is called embedded systems. I don't know how many of you have heard about the term, but I'm pretty confident that you have used such computers in your daily lives. So these are the computers which are customized for specific use cases. For example, think about an MP3 player, think about a digital camera, think about a personal assistant, digital assistant. So these are all customized for unique use case scenarios. These are special purpose computers, if you might call it in that way. And they are also characterized by tight hardware software integration, meaning thereby that the hardware and software are optimized for each other, right? If you think about IoT, IoT starts from these good old embedded systems. So you start with a special purpose computer, which, as I said, you have used in your digital camera and MP3 player. So that's what you start with. And then, like a recipe, as if you're making a dish, right? Like a recipe, you add generous amount of connectivity to that. Connectivity in terms of connecting with another embedded system. It can be heterogeneous in the sense that it doesn't have to be exactly the same type. It can be different types. You also connect with people. So add a generous amount of connectivity to that, and then sprinkle an amount of smartness on it. So that smartness come in the form of AI or machine learning. Machine learning is a form of AI. Now, what is smartness? What is the smartness of a machine, right? These are really fundamental scientific research questions, and I would be happy to talk about that. Today, we do not have time to talk about that. What are the limitations of machine smartness? How do you sprinkle smartness on a machine so that it can be smart? Again, the definition of smart when it comes to machine is pretty different from the definition of smart when it comes to a human being. So how do you make a machine smart, and what does it mean, and what are the limitations of that? So those are the questions which I might be able to talk about if we have enough time. But the last important point you would like to know is that the IoT would not be possible unless you add interoperability on IoT, on these embedded systems. Interoperability means that they should be compatible with each other in terms of communication. A device, which is also called edge device, should be able to talk to another device, right? So if you're going to a parking lot and you like to know if there's a parking spot available, right? Then the sensors or IoT devices in the parking lot, which is sensing how many cars are there and if there's an open slot, needs to talk to any car incoming to the parking lot. So that's the interoperability between device to device. There's interoperability at different layers of the device. We'll talk about that later, but that's extremely important because IoT is not just one device. IoT is a heterogeneous interconnection of multiple devices, right? Now, one of the important aspects of IoT, and the reason it's so important, so empowering, is that IoT is growing exponentially right now. By one count, there are a lot of different counts available there, but by one count, it's 24.1 billion IoT devices we can see by the end of 2030. Again, this is an underestimate. We probably would see much more than that. But it basically shows you that number of people in the earth being, let's say, about 7 billion or so. So we are really going to surpass that number a lot. So if you look at the average, you can see it's the per person, there will be 4 to 5 devices pretty soon. And these devices would be really transforming our industry and transforming our life. And I'll talk about some of the examples for that. But before that, as I said, as a teacher, I would like to give you some perspectives on IoT, right? So if you think about IoT, as I mentioned, IoT is not just a single device. IoT is basically an infrastructure, and the infrastructure looks like this. It has 4 layers. At the bottommost layer, we have the smart devices. We call them edge device or endpoint device. For example, you can have a smart thermostat, smart watch, smartphone, smart autonomous vehicle. You can have a smart drone. You can have RFID tags, which can be put on the products for supply chain management. So these are all things, quote unquote, things or devices, endpoint devices. They are connected among themselves. They are connected to the gateway or the interconnect through different modalities of interconnection. And that's the second layer. It's called network. The third layer is the cloud layer. Cloud is nothing but a connected set of computing and storage resources. And that cloud is very powerful because now these edge devices talk to the cloud through internet, and cloud can be a shared resource in terms of computing and storage. And then at the topmost layer, we have applications. These are software routines which can either run in the cloud or in the edge devices to do that IoT magic, as I mentioned. I'll give you some examples as you move along. Again, I'm looking at the time. I do not have much time, but I would like to, again, pinpoint some of the really distinctive features of IoT. As I mentioned, IoT rose from the ashes of embedded systems. But what is unique about IoT? Why we are talking about IoT so much? Is it something quite new? Is it something that people have not thought about before? In some way it is, even though it has legacy or it comes from the embedded systems. IoT is quite different from that. It's not just old wine in new bottle. It's actually something which is also quite unique in many ways. And then what are the unique aspects of IoT? One of them is that it interacts with the physical world, and that's a very, very important point, because the moment an electronic device or a computing device interfaces with the physical world, then there are a lot of interesting opportunities as well as challenges come into the picture. I'll talk about that later, probably, if I have time. But the most important thing that comes into picture, I'll give you an example of a smart toaster, smart thermostat. It's in your home, right? If anything goes wrong with that, your home can catch fire potentially, right? There are safety issues involved. There are security issues involved. The moment it talks to the physical world, that those issues come into picture and need to deal with that. But at the same time, it also gives you a lot of opportunities, because now you can solve some interesting problems with those devices. The other distinctive feature is that, unlike traditional embedded systems, these devices are equipped with a lot of different sensing modalities in general, and that means they're collecting large volume of data, right? So as you have probably heard, data is the new oil. Even though we're talking about petroleum industry here, the new oil is data, and that can drive IoT, and that can drive AI workloads. And the third one is that connectivity between machines and people. It's very important. A lot of other speakers talked about. And finally, the combination of data and AI can lead to autonomy, and autonomy is extremely important. The fact that machines now can make decisions without human interventions, a car can drive itself without human interventions, machine in industry can, maybe a robot can lead to autonomous decisions based on the data collected by the sensors and some nice algorithms which are implementing AI routines. That's phenomenal. That's quite new. So these four unique features together makes IoT unique, makes IoT so powerful. This is a chart I borrowed, a plot I borrowed from Libelium's Smart World thing. Basically, it shows that IoTs are everywhere. IoTs are applied in every aspects of our daily lives, every aspects of manufacturing, every aspects of our structures and different critical infrastructure. So there are just a lot of different things it can do, and it will take me a long time to go through all of them. But one quick point I would like to mention here is that one of the major applications of IoT is in industry, is particularly in manufacturing industry, including petroleum industry. And what does it do? It basically can automate different things. And if you talk about petroleum industry, it can measure volumes, it can measure the composition of materials through spectroscopy or combination of spectroscopy and AI. I'll give you an examples on that if I have time. And again, Maharajji, please alert me on the amount of time I have. I can always adjust to that. So this power of AIoT is leading to, yeah. Maharajji, how much time I have?
Hello?
Yes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Yeah, I'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. Okay, so this power of IoT is leading to the industrial revolution, which is called Industry 4.0. I'll not go through the history. Probably all of you know that. Industry 5.0 is also on the horizon, where we think robots can work with humans in industry to complement, not replace, but complement human beings in or human resources in industry. So what are just another fundamental question I'll be trying to answer here. What is needed to advance IoT? If you think about India, IoT, as you know, is very powerful. IoT can transform different sectors, but what do you need to enable that, right? There are three things which you need to enable widespread IoT applications in diverse sectors. Number one is the workforce development. I talked about that workforce development cannot be done without well-rounded training, and this particular online internship program is exactly trying to cater to that requirement, and we need more. The second one is that we need standardized tools, and that's something we are doing it in our institute. We are developing a toolbox which will have all sorts of tools, including the AI tools for customized application-specific IoT solutions. If you have an IoT, if you have a problem in either in your industry or in your home, and you would like to develop an IoT solution for that, then what kind of tools you need, and can we provide such a tool? So that's exactly the question we are trying to address by developing a toolbox for customized application specific IoT solution. I'll give you a quick example from my personal experience. I was visiting a company close to the south end of Florida a couple of years ago, and I visited a small manufacturing company which are making glass windows, and I asked them what kind of problems you have, and they said, Professor Vunia, one problem we have is that these glass windows are cut by diamond saw, and these diamond saws would lose their cutting edge or sharpness of the edge. So we can record the sound, but can you apply IoT solutions and AI-based data processing to detect when the diamond saw would require resharpening? And that was a very fantastic problem as a researcher to address. And the other point to note here is that there is no solution, IoT solution you can buy from the market, maybe from Amazon or Flipkart, which can readily address that problem. So we need customized application specific IoT, and that requires also standardized tools. And finally, IoT is very interdisciplinary. We need to have research to develop IoT technology for addressing different problems. So I'll not go over these things. One quick point I will make is that we are running an IoT design competition from the institute, and we have $6,000 cash prizes. It's just started this year. Next year we will again organize that. It's a competition across the nation right now, but we'll open it up to the whole world next year, and it's sponsored by TI, Texas Instruments, and Microsoft. Here you can identify your application area, and you can develop your own IoT solution for that. And if you do that, then of course you'll be competing with the other groups and vying for the prizes. Okay, so some of the interesting IoT projects I'll quickly talk about in 2 minutes. One is that when COVID surge came up last year, myself and my collaborators, we rose to the occasion. I tried to develop IoT solutions to deal with the COVID problem. And I'll not go through all of them, but one of the projects we did, and these are IoT solutions enabled by AI also to deal with the COVID problem. We came up with something called a smart mask. And it's a pretty unique one. You can search in the web, and you'll have a lot of information on that. There's TV coverage on that, and that's me talking to the TV reporters in Fox 13 channel. Basically, it's a mask which not only protects you, but it goes after the virus. It emits a controlled water mist particles, so that the floating viruses, particularly the lingering ones in a small room in indoor setting, can quickly come down to the ground, and it will lose its infectious capability. So that was very well received. We have a number of publications and patents on that, and if you are interested, I'll be able to talk more about that. We're also doing a very interesting work that's extremely relevant for India, with my collaborator, Dr. Somajit Mandal. He's a really bright, brilliant researcher, and I'm pleased to have a collaboration with them. We are developing an IoT solution for detecting fake medicine. As you know, India, unfortunately, is #1 in terms of producing fake or illegal medicines in the whole world. And that's not a good thing to have. Good thing to be #1 in the world. So we have developed a very interesting spectroscopy solution based on this NQR spectroscopy principle, and combined with AI, we have come up with a solution to detect fake medicines. We talked about supply chain. We did hear about supply chain management enabled by IoT. We have come up with some interesting IoT solutions for supply chain management. There are a lot of nice articles. I don't have time to talk about that, but these articles they appeared in many different magazines and journals. So with that, I'll stop. I'll quickly summarize. Basically, another solution we are looking at is to have drones to develop our air quality map. If you have a city like Kolkata or Delhi, the air quality changing in a very fine-grained manner. Both spatial granularity and temporal granularity is very fine, and we would like to create a map of that, and to do that, we have come up with a solution to create an air quality map using IoT and AI in a very efficient manner. So we'll talk more about that in the detailed discussion session, but this will be the last slide. I thank you all for attending. I know it's a long session, but it's a great pleasure to be able to talk here.
Thank you, Saurabh. So practical all applications, I love to get more information about this, but still there is paucity of time. I'm very happy to have, and I think participants they enjoyed your presentation a lot, and also some of them will try to participate in your competition if it is possible. I don't know whether it will be possible for these budding engineers to do like that.
Sure.
So thank you very much. Our last speaker is Dr. Asit Das. Let me share his. Do you see all of you? Is
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So, Dr. Das, Asit, I hope you are still there.
Very much. Yes, yes.
Yes. How did you enjoy Saurabh's presentation?
Fantastic. Great.
Yes. So, Asit is here. So many things written about him. That is his present affiliation as head refining R&D and process development, Reliance Industries Limited, Jamnagar Refinery, and his contact numbers and all these things. So these are his areas of interest. His INMAX technology. I think those we are, all of us are using LPG gases and naturally getting the benefits of that INMAX technology. And there are so many other, very innovative technologies he has developed for our country. He had around 100 patents, more than 80 journal publications, and 7 book chapters. So this is a very, very brief introduction for him. He was last year, in 2020, actually in 2019, I was made the President Engineering Sciences of Indian Science Congress. And last year, that is 2020, Dr. Rashid Das was the President Engineering Sciences, Indian Science Congress. So these are very, short thing about him. But if you see his vast knowledge, particularly the chemical engineering, budding chemical engineers, I am addressing you, that you should get the maximum benefit out of him. Because he has got a very, very, starting from our Levenspiel and Fogler and then the Smith-Madness and other textbooks. So still now, if you ask any questions from any chemical engineering textbook, he is able to answer and he is able to solve almost all the problems apart from his process development activities. So with this short introduction, I request Dr. Das to start his deliberation. You have your presentation, isn't it? You sent it. If you, but I think you will share it. You yourself.
Let me try. If it works out from here, well, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaji, for the kind introduction. I'm sorry I got delayed. There are lots of meetings in the today evening. So I could not, join. I lost the first opening part and couldn't meet my friends there, and I missed that opportunity. Nevertheless, I could make it towards this last again part of this today's deliberations. Let me try my PPT from here. Can you see the slides?
Yes. Yes, Ashit.
Very good.
Yes, yes. You can go to the, yes, that's all. Thank you. Go on, carry on.
Yeah. Okay, so what I will speak about is the sustainability in refining and petchem. As you know, that the refining and petrochemical industry is a major, major industry which has a tremendous amount of impact on any economy because it provides mobility to the entire industrial growth. So sustainability is a new word. As you know, there are a lot of new restrictions happening in terms of how much CO2 will be allowed and things like that, and when we can become carbon neutral. And refinery being dependent entirely on fossil fuel today, the gas, that crude oil and all petrol, diesel, everything that is a fossil fuel that produces a large amount of CO2 is produced. Roughly about 6% of the CO2 is produced by this industry. So therefore, it is all the more important. We need to bring sustainability. What are the areas on which we can make refinery and petrochemical sustainable? So that's the topic which I want to cover you. This is not a very formal presentation. You can stop me, ask questions or clarifications, whatever you have. You don't have to wait for till the end of the PPT. Okay, so this is a disclaimer. So whatever I speak here, it is my personal capacity and my comments are personal, and Reliance has no ownership on that part. As you know, Reliance is the #1 company in the country. It has presence in multiple areas. It has strong presence in the digital platform. Reliance started with the oil, basically the refinery and the downstream petrochemicals. So it was a integration of going from polyester to petrochemicals to polymers, then to refinery, and then to oil and gas upstream. So that was the entire value chain which was established at the first phase of Reliance development. And then the development, two other development which occurred, basically the digital platform. Reliance is one of the largest digital platform in the country, providing called Geo, and it has almost like 40 crore of subscriber. So it covers almost like roughly, I would say 30 to 35% of population it covers. It's very significant. So today's oil is not really oil, it is actually data. And that is what is the platform. It actually connects, almost like 50,000 stations all over the entire country. And this is one of the largest platform. And what it has done is providing data as a feeding point, as an input to common Indian. You look at the cost of what the entry of Reliance into the digital platform, how much the cost of data has come down, and how much accessibility of data to people it has created. So this is the kind of enormous platform Reliance is known for. Reliance is known for dreaming very big projects and converting them into reality. It all started with, as you know, we feel all very proud that today's largest oil refinery in the world is where? It is at Jamnagar. The two world largest refineries are here. These are 4 or 5 times bigger than what are the nearest refinery capacities available. So, this ability to think big and converting those dreams into reality is something very unique in the DNA of Reliance. The second example of that is Reliance Retail. As you know, we have built around 12,000 Reliance retail stores are available across the country. It provides all kinds of facilities from grocery to fashion to lifestyle, consumer electronics, and so on and so forth. Like in oil to chemical, this is the third part of the earlier business, the O2C we call it. So these are the 3 fulcrums of the Reliance business today. Okay, the data, the retail, and the O2C, the oil to chemical. I'll try to cover what is the demand of chemical in our country. Then I'll cover the how chemicals can be produced, how petrochemicals and chemicals can be produced in refinery. Refinery is known for producing diesel, gasoline, LPG, and other fuels like fuel oil, etc., and lube oil. But how can you convert refinery into large amount of chemicals? That is what is oil to chemical all about. And this is a buzzword in the refining industry today to maximize chemical production. I'll speak about that. Today's refineries are all about 10 to 12% maximum chemical you can produce. But when we say O2C, oil to chemical, we are talking about 60 to 70% of the entire product would be petrochemicals. So that's O2C. And I'm very proud to tell you that our team has developed very innovative processes. We don't believe in paper processes. We believe in processes to build in the laboratory, which are commercially doable, scalable, commercially achievable. And I'm happy to tell you that in my early phase of career in Indian Oil, we developed a process called INMAX, Indian Maximization, LPG Maximization process from scratch. We started from A4 size paper, and we ultimately, this technology is now world-class technology. It is licensed by outside licensor, Lamas Technology from USA. They license this technology worldwide. And there's outside license also outside our country. And in the country, there are 9 plants which are either operational or in the design stage. And we all started, it is all Indian product by Indian engineers. The L&T was the designer, I mean the construction was done by L&T, and the first demonstration plant was in Guwahati. So, and it was in 2003. And since then, there are 9 plants which have come up. And it has served a great purpose in maximizing high-value LPG, which we are still importing today. It has not been able to fully make up, but a large part of the LPG shortage. It is just not the supply of technology. It has built confidence in Indians to really build technologies on catalyst and on processes and develop new hardware and convert those ideas into commercial plant. That is what, if you ask me after 35 years, what have I achieved? The single liner is this, that I have been able with great help from all the teams which I have worked with to convert the dream into reality. That is where the satisfaction comes from. And MCC is one such process, multi-zone cat cracking process. This is a machine which converts oil to chemicals and to high yield of chemicals. I'll speak about that. As you know, waste plastic is a serious problem, is a serious environment problem, a sustainability problem. And without converting waste plastic to virgin plastic, we can't solve waste plastic problem. So I'll show you, we have invented a process and it is in the demonstration stage. And very soon, once the demo is over, we are likely to commercialize this process. We'll have plants all over different cities and rural part of the country to convert the waste plastic in scales like 20 ton per day, and then bring the oil into refinery and convert them again into plastic. So I'll give some example, and then I'll touch upon what are the sustainability pathways. How can you make refinery and petrochemical operations more eco-friendly, more carbon-friendly, more green, and more circular. So these are the kind of things which I would like to cover in this talk. In the Indian chemical industry growth, it is growing at a very rapid rate. Typical growth is about 14% from 2014 to 2025, and from third positions we are likely to get, and Indian chemical percentage is about 8.1% likely to happen. So it is likely to, by next 3 years, it is likely to achieve third position in terms of chemicals. So the chemical demand growth is going from 110 to about $440 billion. So that's the kind of economy. It's about 8% of the total GDP. Unfortunately, although fortunately, refinery is surplus. Refining capacity is surplus in our country, and we are exporting worth about 40 million ton of products. Refined products are sold by Reliance all over world. About 80 countries we sell our products. So, and it is one of the major foreign exchange earner by Reliance, and that is by selling 40 million tons of refined oil products in all over different parts of the world. But that is a good news. The bad news is we are still importing 40 to 50% of chemicals are getting imported in the country, which is not a good thing. For a sustainable Atmanirbhar Bharat, we need to produce these chemicals, and lots of things which are importing must be converted to indigenous technologies producing within the country by Indian people. Essentially, what I'm saying is we need to look, and those of you who are thinking that chemical industry is gone, it's old industry, please rethink. As long as humanity exists, civilization exists, you need to use chemistry, you need to use chemicals, but it has to be sustainable use of chemistry and sustainable use of chemicals. That is what we need to adopt quickly, and we need to develop a lot of new ideas and innovative ideas which can achieve sustainability at minimum cost. But in this slide, what I'm trying to tell you is, we are today, even after 75 years of freedom, we are still importing these chemicals, which is no good. We are importing even polyethylene, PVC, methanol, MEG, you name it. These are the major products which we are importing today. And I have already shared this slide. You don't have to carry this, write up. You can get the slides from Maharaj. Now let me talk to you. What are the new energy transitions which are occurring in the petrochemical refining industry? Refining industry in the country, India is one of the countries where this industry is still growing very rapidly at 4 to 5%. We are now about 250 million ton. By 2030, we are likely to achieve 400 million ton of oil refining capacity, which is roughly about 5% growth. This is only one country where this growth is so high. And why is it? Because India's GDP is likely to grow and the population growth is there. So therefore, with a GDP of around 8%, even if you talk, still you need a lot of fuel to fuel this GDP. And that's why this growth is high. So significant growth opportunity exists because we are buying a lot of petrochemical from outside. So there is a very good reason and logic to convert oil into chemical. Why? Because we are surplus in refining products and we are much deficit on the petrochemical products. So there is a need to produce oil to chemical. In addition, the new energy transition is already happening in the world, and India is no exception. And there are a lot of restrictions on carbon footprint, etc. So we need to really look and adapt the new energy transitions like electric vehicle, batteries, hybrid vehicle, fuel cell vehicle, green hydrogen from electrolyzer, renewable power. Solar PV today is more economic than coal-based power plant. Can you believe it? 10 years before, it was not economic. But the innovations of engineers and scientists have made solar PV and wind power more economically more feasible than even coal-based power today. In addition, we also have biofuels. So these are all the new arenas through which the mobility sector is emerging, new suns are rising. It may be a sunset for oil industry. Slowly you can see that it is, I would say still it is 2 p.m. for oil industry, but petrochemical industry will be still live. It is petrochemical is still going to grow a lot, provided we take care of the plastic sustainability, polymer reconversions, and all the key burning issues. But I am sure the petrochemical and chemical demand will continue to grow, but we will not depend on fuel to supply energy. We will depend on the renewable energy to supply us the mobility energy, whereas chemicals would be still required to be produced. We have to see how to make chemicals also from bio route or sustainable route. Those also are the new chapters opening. Even the green power, you see, green hydrogen is a new reality. It can, if you capture CO2 and you produce green hydrogen in an economic way, then you can produce all the chemicals in a very circular and sustainable manner. And I'm going to show you examples of that as well. So basically, these are the new things which are emerging, and chemical engineers earlier used to think that electrochemical industry is gone, but electrochemical industry has come back. You see, photochemistry, electrochemistry, these are the new horizons on which chemical engineers are likely to work more, and demands are growing for electrochemistry. So please, since you are in the early stage, please look at these emerging areas. Electrochemistry is one such area, and new material development in solar PV, concentrated solar, wind, synthetic graphite, for example, is going to be a very big, because all the batteries, etc., they would be needing new materials in terms of graphite, in terms of new ions like cobalt, nickel, moly, lithium. These are the new emerging. You see, the connectivity you have to understand. The connectivity is the electrical. Earlier chemical connectivity was chemical and mechanicals were more, but now electrical, metallurgical, and chemical. These are the three triangles of engineering which are emerging in the new frontiers of sustainability. Please take it from me, therefore, that our connectivity with mechanical will continue to remain, but the emerging connectivity with electrical and metallurgical are going to grow further, and also with electronics and computing, because chemical engineering without computing and electronics like IoT and other things, these are more smarter way of living and more smarter way of doing business. And the revolution 4 of new generations of knowledge and knowledge-based new productivity are going to emerge. I am now switching gear to slightly tell you how can you convert oil into chemical. I hope you recognize what is oil. Oil is a hydrocarbon mixture. Crude oil is a hydrocarbon mixture starting from LPG, which is C3, C4 range, to all the way up to C30, C40 carbons with different hydrocarbon aromatic. So this is a mixture of aromatic, naphthalene, paraffin, isoparaffin, all kinds of mixtures of different carbon numbers starting from C3. Some H2S also may remain, some gas also may remain. I can tell you hydrogen C1 to all the way up to C50 with different chemical compositions. That is what is crude oil. Now, from there you want to produce chemical. What are chemicals? You want to make ethylene, you want to make propylene, you want to make butylene, you want to make BTX, benzene, toluene, and xylene. These are the mother chemicals. Based on it, the entire petrochemical industry is built. You can do many kinds of chemical organic molecules synthesis. If you have these mother monomer units available, you can create polymer industry. So basically, we are talking about mother monomer chemicals. When we talk of oil to chemical, it is about producing. How do you make ethylene? How do you make propylene? How do you make butylene and BTX, benzene, toluene, and xylene? So this is a scheme of things for making aromatics, maximum aromatics. How do you do it? You take the whole crude oil, you take the crude distillation and vacuum distillation here. So thereafter you get different cards. You have a reformer, which are basically platinum catalyst. Using that, you can do reform. Basically, these are C6 onwards, C6 to C9, C10. Up to that, boiling point wise, it's about 90 to 170 cut is put into catalytic reforming unit. Today, these are running on moving bed, catalytic reforming, having continuous regeneration of the catalyst, and that converts this all the molecules into aromatics, benzene, toluene, and xylene. So this is one, and then you produce the low boil stocks from this, and the slurry, the heavy part is converted into gasifier, and the hydrogen is supplied. So this is the the lighter naphtha you convert into steam cracker. This is a naphtha cracker. Basically, you convert also C5, C6, and C2, C4 lighter gases. You convert into ethylene and propylene. So basically, you are producing aromatics about aromatics from reformer, and you are producing olefins, light olefin from steam cracker. There are multiple units which are running around this concept. Essentially, these are the units on the right side. You have got several units running in this configuration to maximize aromatics. Now we talk about the max olefin configuration. What is that? Where you can produce maximum ethylene and propylene. This is a new configuration which has emerged. You take whole crude oil, then you do pre-processing, basically distillation. You convert into light, medium, and heavy cut. Then you do hydrotreating. You send it to steam cracker, which is a thermal cracking process. And the mid-range also you do hydrocracking, and we again convert into naphtha. And this naphtha of let us say from C5, which is 35 degree to about 200 degree, you can convert into steam cracker, and from there you can post-process it and produce olefin and aromatics. Okay, and the heavy part of it from this hydrocracker, and also the heaviest part after hydrotreating, it can be converted into FCC, fluid catalytic cracking, which again can give you it is a catalytic cracking, and steam cracker is a thermal cracking process, whereas FCC is a catalytic cracking process. Catalytic cracking produces more propylene and less ethylene, and it also produces aromatics. So both this and steam cracker combined together, you do a post-processing, you get olefin and aromatics. So this is a configuration which is also some companies have started thinking and adopting this scheme into producing chemicals. Now this is the scheme invented by our team. Okay, unlike thermal, multi-zone catalytic cracking is all catalytic. The heart of this process, this is our own invention. This is a patented invention, and all over the world, different countries, we have patented this. We have granted patents, and this is getting commercialized at Reliance in a very big way. We are first planning to put up a demo plant, 3,000 barrels a day. And we have a pilot plant already. We have completed pilot scale, which is 2 barrels per day. From there, we are going to 3,000 barrels per day. And after the demo is over, then we will have multiple of this unit, multi-zone cut cracking. How long has it reached to develop this? We have spent so far about 10 years. And now the demo plant is getting ready. So if you want to develop something new, you must have patience. Without patience, you cannot achieve great thing if you do not have patience. You must have patience. And if you can develop 2, 3, 4 processes and gift it to the nation, you will feel proud at the end of your career that you have achieved something substantial. So what is the innovation here? FCC is a known process. It's a fluid catalytic cracking process where the heavies are converted to lighter gasoline, diesel, and LPG. We invented this for maximum LPG mode. That is called INMAX. The story I told you. Now this is also FCC, but it is a multi-zone FCC. What is it? We can feed in this riser. This riser is usually very tall. It's about 40 meters. And usually it used to be only single feed used to be injected. That is vacuum gas oil, which is the heavy part of the refinery product. That used to be cracked to the lighter gasoline, diesel. That is the process which is known as an FCC. There is a reactor, there is a regenerator, and the main part is the riser, where the maximum within 3 seconds the reaction gets done. Now what have we invented here? We have invented a catalyst which is able to convert selectively to high value these chemical monomers which I told you. Not only that, the major invention here is introducing feed of different sources of different crackability in different zones. We have about 7 zones in this multi-zone riser. So the entire riser is converted into 7 zones. And in each zone, we are putting that feed which is suitable for that severity. And the severity is highest at the bottom because it will see the full catalyst will be seen by this C4 feed which is injected here, and then C5 feed, then little naphtha range feed, and then heavier range. Then we can inject methanol, we can inject bio oil, we can inject all kinds of feed which you want to, like pyrolysis, this waste plastic, we can produce pyrolysis oil from there and we can inject it here, and then it will produce again to ethylene and propylene. I'll show you how it can be done. So in other words, from C4 to all the way up to resid, even direct crude oil also, you can feed in this riser, and in a single step, you will be able to produce high quantity of olefins. How much? You will be getting ethylene, about 24% of your feed, you will be getting ethylene. And BTX, propylene, you will get 33%, you will get propylene. And BTX is about 70 to 20%. So altogether, 70% of your feed will be converted only to these chemicals, which are exceedingly high value. And not only that, it would have no carbon footprint downstream, because these chemicals will end up as chemical application. They will remain in the materials. They will not produce CO2 on their own. And this CO2 which will be produced, we also have innovative idea about it, that we will use not air, we will use oxygen, and this oxygen will burn, it will produce CO2, right? And the oxygen will be consumed, so that CO2 will be recycling back and maintain the velocity, etc. So that way we will be getting almost a pure CO2 at the flue gas, which then we can sequester and complete the carbon cycle, so that this chemical production becomes sustainable. So this innovation brings in 3 technologies in a simple innovation like this. 3 technologies. One, naphtha cracking in steam in naphtha cracker, whatever is done, it is able to do that. You look here, naphtha is getting injected. Then the heavy cracking is also being accomplished here. The heavy crude oil also can getting cracked, because FCC can do it very easy. Third is any oxygen containing feed like biofuel, methanol, and many other oxygenates also you can inject here. Even waste, this plastic oil also you can inject here, and then you can again produce polymer, monomer out of it. So this is the flexibility that MCC provides. This is how a refinery looks like. You can see the crude oil, vacuum oil distillation unit, then VGO hydrocracking unit, the delayed coking unit, and then FCC unit, and then there are Merox units, then the reformers are there, and platformer is the reformer. So this is the typical refinery complex. Now you can use MCC in 2 ways. You can get these intermediate low value streams directly and put an MCC in the back end in the existing refinery. You don't have to do anything. It will convert all these low value streams into very high value chemicals. So this is a back end integration. You don't have to bother too much. Suppose you want to build a new chemical plant, you don't have to build this part. See, this is not required. You can put MCC directly here and feed crude directly to MCC. It will give you the chemical. So there are multiple ways you can use this MCC. I have already spoken about the innovative part. I am not going to take time, but this patent has been now granted all over world. Now let me talk to you about how do you recycle plastic chemically. You know, there are a lot of effort being made, but it is not easy. Most of the recycling being done, they are all thermally being done. And because of that, the conversion is not good. You end up in sticky char and tar formation. It also lowers the heat transfer with time. And there is leakage of hydrocarbon to the surrounding. So that is how the plastic conversion plant, there are some small plastic conversion plants coming up, but they are all thermal processes. They require segregation of feed. There are issues of processing as received waste plastic. So you have to first clean up the plastic. You have to segregate the feed, convert into different types of plastics like multi-layer plastics, etc., which are coming for pouch and all. You cannot convert them directly in these thermal units. And also the products that is produced, because it is thermal process, no catalyst used, they have low gasoline octane number, there is a high amount of fuel oil, high residue, it produces a lot of char and coke, and also the gasoline and diesel range are very unstable, and it produces gum, etc. So it is very difficult to store and transport to nearby refinery. So these are today's plastic conversion plants have these problems. We have invented this process, which is first time catalytic pyrolysis reactor, and a catalyst has been engaged in order to selectively convert all kinds of plastic at a much lower severity, much lower reactor temperature, and produce a pyrolysis oil, which is very, I won't say very stable, but it is more stable than the thermal, which is understandably so. So basically, you will be able to get the oil part and the small amount of char that you get with the spent catalyst, you get back. So you don't have to segregate or clean up the waste plastic, which can carry some cloth, it can carry some food stuff, it can also carry some soil, or etc., etc. That same thing can be directly fed to this reactor. You don't have to heat it, you don't have to melt it. So those are the challenges in today's technology. That was the challenge. So we have removed those issues, and straight away the waste plastic as is where is basis is fed to here to this reactor. It does its own heating. It's a rotary reactor system with catalyst, which is able to convert various, including multi-layer plastics and all, get converted to high yield of liquid oil. You get almost 80% of liquid pyrolysis oil, which is almost a very good hydrocarbon in naphtha and diesel range. You can see, and compared to thermal route, we require about 50 to 100 degree lower temperature, and it gives about 10% improvement in the liquid yield. And it, more importantly, you get gasoline of better quality, which you can bring it here, bring it to the refinery, and as I said, in MCC, you can connect it and convert into again ethylene and propylene and BTX, which are monomer. From there, you can again create virgin plastics. So essentially, it's a circular process which we are planning. This is in the demo scale. We are in that scale of 10 ton per day. Once that is successful within 2-3 months, Reliance has a very ambitious plan to produce about 500 plants of 20 ton per day capacity in every different nook and corner of the country, and convert the waste plastic, which is really a hassle, a challenge, an environmental issue, to convert that chemically into oil and into chemical and into virgin plastic, thereby bring circularity. And if you can ask me, the economy, it will be self-sustainable. It will not require any subsidy, because the oil content is so high. 80% of the oil you will get, and we are producing about 9 million ton of plastic is getting used. So if you can convert that, you will be producing about 6 million ton of very good quality of oil. So this has a tremendous sense of environmental sustainability. It's need of the hour, and these are the kind of plastics which we have so far used and converted into useful chemicals. So these are the products. You can see the catalytic products look much better. In all cases, the colors tell you the story that it is much more stable. So these are the different products which we have got, which is much better stable. So this is the kind of char that you get and coke that you get from thermal conversion of plastic, whereas in catalytic conversion you get very clean coal char, which is free flowing. This does not flow. So what happens? It gets sticky to the wall of the reactors, and the reactor get plugged. So you have to time clean. But here it comes out, so you can continue your operation in a continuous manner. That is another facet of this technology. This I have told you that through this technology commercialization, we'll be able to provide 100% circularity on mass basis to plastic, and 55% of virgin plastic can be produced using MCC route. So essentially, almost like 55% from waste plastic to virgin plastic we can produce. So this, I have said, it has a tremendous applications and requirement. Carbon neutrality is a very, very important topic. Through this, we can make this industry sustainable and long-term. And there are 6-7 pathways by which you can become carbon neutral. I will only touch upon these topics. You have to bother about minimum energy. So energy efficiency improvement is a key aspect. And you can bring down OPEX also. You can improve yield. You can intensify your process and improve catalyst and process to improve yield and energy efficiency. The second part is the renewable energy and storage, basically solar, wind, etc. If you adopt those instead of heating through oil, you use your process heaters, and so there will be more electricity related energy consumption. Biomass is a renewable feedstock. So more and more biomass derived fuel has to be used, or biomass derived feedstocks need to be used. That is another way to achieve carbon neutrality. Then next is chemicals for processes with low carbon footprint. You have to choose the processes which are with low carbon footprint, which are producing minimum amount of CO2. Then you have to adopt the green chemistry principles with minimum waste, and 12 principles of green chemistry with economy of molecule, etc. need to be adopted. And if you have renewable hydrogen from renewable power and CO2 if you recapture from the refinery, these two you can produce lots of chemicals and fuels out of which are going to be sustainable, but today they are not economic. And last but not the least is the carbon capture, CO2 capture and utilization and storage. So these are some very broad ways one can become carbon neutral. I will summarily say that we need to think India-centric in a way when we like to innovate. There are 4 circles I have shown: the availability, affordability, sustainability, and productivity. And these are the circles which provides new input, new data, new thought, new innovative idea, wherein one can build up using the resources which are available in the country. We have high-as Indian coal. How can we become sustainable? It is difficult to think. But if you use high-as Indian coal, if you can develop a technology for high-as Indian coal and capture the CO2 and sequester the CO2, then you have a sustainable way to convert Indian coal into oil. So look at agro biomass. We are agro country. We have 220 million ton of waste agro biomass which are getting rotten, getting burnt in the field, producing enormous amount of pollution. If we can convert this agro biomass amicably using innovative technology, we can produce 70 million ton of synthetic crude, which is roughly 25% of our country's consumption. We have 50 million ton of municipal solid waste. What can we do about it? We have waste plastic about 5 million ton. We have food and other organic waste also which are getting wasted today. What can we do with this? Look at the affordability. Our 50-60% of the population is still living in the rural India, who cannot afford that much which a city can afford. For them, the industry has to reach to them with affordable technologies for water, for fuel, for transport, for data, for everything, and at a cost which they can afford. So these are some of the rural-based products and fuels and ways to connect rural with industry. In the third part of it, I have brought the sustainability, which is all CO2 related, algae to chemical, renewable, and all these new ways of bringing circularity. And the fourth part is the productivity. Whatever existing technologies you have to be more efficient. You have to bring in process intensification, product intensification, and energy intensification. So this is how the 4 circles are covered. And I have already told you what I thought to convey. More or less, the industry is moving towards sustainability is a new buzzword. Chemical engineers need to be very, very environmentally cautious. Earlier days, there are 2 things which are taught in the industry. When we graduated, we were told what? We were told that in order to develop a process, you have to have two things to be feasible. One, technical feasibility. Two, economic feasibility. These are the two things earlier. But now it has to be economically feasible also. So unless the process is green, unless the product is clean, nobody will touch you. Nobody will touch your product. Nobody will touch your innovative solutions. So therefore, bring green concept in every thinking that you want to, whatever you want to innovate, whatever area you choose to work for your career, please always adopt the green part of it, because without green, you are not going to be sustainable. With that, I would like to thank, I must thank Maharaji also, and to all of you who are waiting for a long time and listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Das. After long days, I could listen to your whole lecture. Generally, whenever we are organizing anything, so there are many management aspects. So sometimes your lecture is on the, just after the inauguration or so. So I missed this. So naturally, I am overwhelmed by seeing this. After long years, I could completely see the whole, completely listen to the whole lecture along with the presentation. So all these ideas, that is the carbon neutrality, and then plastics to oils, and other, aspects of that, that MCC, and all these things. So many thanks. I hope our young budding engineers, they also at least will try to grasp some of the innovative ideas what you try to put forward. With this, I request our coordinator of the program, Mr. Arshanendu Mondal. I already told that Arshanendu has a great innings in WNGC. So I think around 35 years or so. So to sum up and to provide vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Swamiji, for giving me the opportunity to sum up and Thanksgiving. The friends, the participants, so we are now ending this session. Before that, let me sum up what has happened today. I must first convey that this particular program has been very successful. We are happy to get it organized in this way. We got the blessings from the start by praying to Swami Vivekananda ji. So which was really, although we are in virtual mode, still we could do it. So we feel pride of it. We are thanking ourselves to get it done in a very nice manner. So the credit goes to, of course, our Swami Vivekananda ji. But we are all seeing this in a very grateful manner, and we could do it. So it is really a successful fashion. Now, after that, we were very fortunate to get the gracious presence of Dr. Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, the president of WVCHSC, Pro Vice Chancellor of Jadavpur University, and chairman of organizing committee. So he had explained, in the beginning itself, what is the importance of both the courses that we are going to take up through this internship program, that is the petroleum and petrochemicals and the IoT. These are very important aspects for all the engineers, specifically for chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, and in fact for all the engineering students. Mr. P.K. Sharma also explained in his speech, in his address also in this way, that how all the engineering students can really succeed in their future career, be it any industry. And of course, if it is a petrochemical and petroleum industry, then definitely nothing like that. So that has been very nicely elaborated by Dr. Chiranjeev Bhattacharya. Then we were lucky to have the inaugural speech by Professor Soikat Moitra. He is the president, he is the vice chancellor of Macau. And in his speech also, again, we could listen the same thing in a very different manner, because when we are to talk about petroleum and petrochemical, the basically the way of learning is enormous. So everybody has their own way of getting the experience and elaborating the things. So he has again elaborated in a very different fashion, which was mesmerizing, which was very useful to all the students, and even for we, the old people who have already crossed 60 and come out from the industry. Then we got.
In fact, in fact, he has raised the questions in two areas. So one is IoT and other is our petroleum and petrochemicals. And I told that you are raising the questions, and now all these questions will be addressed by my friends. One is Dr. Rashid Das and one is my student, Professor Saurabh Punya. And after having the, then I, of course, did not see the presentation, but after listening watching all the presentations, then I found that what I have told is absolutely true. Anyway, please continue.
Very correct, sir. I mean, the combination of these two aspects, that is the core industry, the manufacturing of petrochemical and petroleum, and the technology behind it to make it more efficient through IoT, is definitely a rare combination to get through in one course, and that you have thought of, and we are going to get it implemented also. Very nice and right way of thinking, sir. And then we got Dr. Vibhuti Pairaji. I was really thrilled to see him after a long time, because we had got a lot of learning in our engineering from him during our course of study. So he again explained the same thing of petroleum and petrochemicals in a very fruitful and different manner. So I think we have all listened his address very systematically and very minutely, and likely to implement it in our, I mean, I'm talking on behalf of students also. It will be very beneficial for them to use it in future. Then we got Dr. Bhaskar Gupta. He is from Jadavpur University. He is also the program director of this particular internship program, and he again gave a lot of importance to both the courses, and so we are very fortunate to get him today and going through his lecture very meticulously. Then we got from the industry Mr. Partho Ghosh, who is the executive director of Indian Oil. So it is really very nice to listen to him, because I had a very close association with him as a buyer and seller meet. Because I am from ONGC, who is the producer of oil, and he is from IOC, who is the buyer of the crude oil. So we used to meet in every month, in fact, and it is very fortunate for me to see him now actively involved in the refinery, and he has really given very good insights of LPG aspects and the IoT aspects. So we are very fortunate to listen to his lecture in our plenary session. And then we got another good friend of mine. He is P.K. Sen Sharma. He had spoken from Abu Dhabi. So because when he was with ONGC, we had been together for quite a long time. I think we had the 3 months spending together also in Indian School of Mines for training. We will not go into those details. Let me say so nicely he has elaborated how the all activities of upstream industry, specifically the oil and gas producers, are engaging all the students from the engineering branches. So in fact, all branches can branches of engineering can join their hand together and can make any industry very successful. The way he has explained, it was really eye-opener to all the young birds to listen to his lecture and get them themselves excited. And I think we'll be getting again in the next 2 lectures. So we'll waiting for that. Then we got another aspect which is not very conducive for me to explain, that is the IoT aspects. That has been explained by Dr. Rajiv Mukherjee in his plenary lecture. And Dr. Rajiv Mukherjee, he is the IoT expert from the University of Texas and Permian Basin, USA. So when he has explained, basically, as he is from Permian Basin, which is basically very important for hydrocarbon producing. So the lot of new things of implementation of IoT industry we could learn from his lecture. And similarly, we could got very brief voice of Dr. Sandeep Nanda, who has touched upon the IoT aspect, although we could not listen much from him today, but we understood that how important is IoT from him, and he has introduced, in fact, another Professor Sarup Bhuiya, who is expert of IoT from University of Florida, USA. He had explained many things and the future of Industry 5.0 also, and the explanation and the illustration of what he has shown through their research work for even the COVID industry for utilizing this IoT, I think is the eye-opener for many of the students to think in a different way than how it can be done. Even the students from West Bengal also can do a lot. That sort of smelling, that sort of idea we could generate from him, from his lecture. And finally, last but not the least, of course, we got to know many new things from the industry, which is called Reliance, who is the pioneer in everything. Wherever we touch, we will find Reliance, be it in petroleum, be it in petrochemicals, and be it now in software. But he has explained a lot of things in a new way, because whatever way we are habituated to do, he has not elaborated that. He has talked about the future aspects of how we can do, in fact, to take the challenges of this carbon environmental problem. So that we could learn from him. And of course, the time was very short, so we could not listen from these experts for longer time. We hope that we'll be continuing to get their blessings throughout our internship program, and in case they get time, our web links are there with them. They may please join. We request all the dignitaries to please join whenever they will find time, because this is almost a 2 months program. Will be beneficial and will get charged up if we see your faces during our program. And of course, our students will be benefited. This is the summing up of the lectures. Finally, if I am to give the thanks, definitely my thanks will go to all these dignitaries to give time, to give their valuable speeches in this particular occasion, and not the least that Swamiji, I mean, who has taken all the pains, basically, although he is a member of the organizing committee, he is to take it, but the way he has taken it to get all the speakers, to make all the programs so lively. So we are all thankful. And of course, Komi Ghosh, who is the transmission coordinator, as you say, but it's not that. It is only she has worked from that capacity. She has given her basically contribution to make this program so successful that we must give our thanks to all of you. Thanks. I am not giving thanks to me. It is my duty to give thanks to others. So thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Swamiji.
Thank you, Ashwinendra. You have given thanks to everyone. I will be giving thanks to only one person who is I mean, this time, because of this virtual background, you cannot see him. But at the time of inauguration, you could see the photo of Swami Vivekananda.
Yeah.
So I will thank to Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna and our Sarada Devi, because of their blessings we could do. Otherwise, without their blessings, this is my, I mean, I am not exaggerating. This is my actual feelings that we could not do anything. Many big organizations are doing so many things, okay, but they may not be so pleasant, so enjoying such things. Maybe the shows may be very big. So this only happens because if we can invoke the blessings of Thakur Swamiji properly, then only we will get the success. I know, Asit, I should not discuss so many things because already it is very late. But I have seen how Asit has been transformed from one, little boy to such a great scientist of our country. This is only the blessings of Thakur Maharaj Swamiji. Okay, so I think we can say bye-bye, good night. So all these things have been live streamed in YouTube. Anyone, those are interested, can go to the, the channel of Vivekananda Institute of Environment Management. You can search in YouTube and you will get all the recorded video. Thank you. Thank you. All the days it will be recorded. Thank you. Let me end this show. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you.